Welcome to Fantasy Audiobook. Blood sacrifice to millions of zombies. I will be a demon cultivator in the apocalypse. Chapter 21. Zheng Yi fled far away and saw one of the demonic cultivators holding a huge six-tailed demon banner, which was covered in eerie blood-colored eyes. He waved the six-tailed blood pupil demon banner, emitting blood-red demonic light that turned the illuminated area into dust. The terrifying demonic energy spread out, shrouding a small hill. On the other hand, there was an old man with a pale and withered face, resembling a zombie. He opened his large sleeves, and countless terrifying bats that could fly in the sky and burrow underground flew out from within. These black and strange bats emitted sharp sonic waves with astonishing power, directly leveling a towering small mountain peak. This kind of terrifying battle, Zheng Yi had only seen it on television in his past life. Now, witnessing it with his own eyes happening right in front of him, made his mouth dry and his feet cold. But on the other hand, he was even more envious of this terrifying power. Having an entire Doomsday world as a backing, Zheng Yi believed that one day, he would also be able to master such terrifying power. And that day shouldn't be too far away. Having lived in the Dia Immortal domain for more than 10 years, Zonkong City was after all the place where the reputable sects were located, with strict order. The things he had experienced there were far fewer than what he had experienced in the past few months. Unconsciously, Zheng Yi had a deeper understanding of the level of danger in the demon realm. Suppressing his aura and avoiding dangerous areas, following the markings on the map, Zheng Yi traveled for 7 or 8 days before finally arriving at the marked location on the map. Standing at the marked point, Zheng Yi looked around and saw vast desolation. There wasn't even a single mountain nearby, so where was the sect's gate? Could I have been deceived? It can't be. A chi refining cultivator at the 7th level of the high rank wouldn't deceive me with low-grade spirit stones just to point me in the wrong direction. Zheng Yi had some doubts in his mind, but he didn't think that Chen Ju, the steward of the Blood Mist Abyss City, had any reason to deceive him. With his identity, they were completely unequal. It wouldn't make sense for him to go through so much trouble just to deceive him for the spirit stones in his hands. What's going on with this situation? Zheng Yi couldn't help but fall into deep silence. The cold wind howled, and not a single blade of grass grew on the desolate land. The wind pushed Zheng Yi's robe, and the cold wind seeped in from his sleeves and neck, making him shiver. The disciple badge given to him by the other party was extraordinary in terms of material. It had been refined with exquisite craftsmanship and could blend with blood, producing a reaction. Zheng Yi didn't think he would be deceived. If he was really being deceived, why would they give him a disciple badge and explain it multiple times? Could it be that he made a mistake? Of course, that was also impossible. He was always cautious, and he had followed the directions marked on the map without any deviation. Even the several key coordinates marked on the map, he had found them. If he could still make a mistake like this, it would be too ridiculous. Boom, boom. Just as Zheng Yi was feeling confused, his eyes flickering as he pondered what the problem might be in this desolate scene, suddenly, the disciple badge in his arms began to vibrate violently. Zheng Yi's heart trembled, and he quickly held it in his hand, only to see the white jade badge flashing with white light. Zheng Yi took it out, and the shining white light on the token directly pointed in one direction. Even if he changed his position, the indicated direction remained unchanged. Now, Zheng Yi finally had some certainty in his heart. It seems that I haven't taken the wrong direction. And Chen Ju, the outer disciple steward of the assimilating soul sect in the Blood Mist Abyss City, has no reason to deceive me. This disciple token had its own mysteries. It was not just an identification, but also had the function of indicating the direction. Without hesitation, Zheng Yi followed the direction indicated by the white light on the token and continued walking. Passing through a desolate area, there was nothing alive except for weeds. The only things present were gloomy weather, howling cold wind, and dense fog that obscured vision and hearing. But Zheng Yi remained fearless. His law weapon, the soul-capturing banner, emitted a faint red light, constantly on guard. If any danger arose, his law weapon would open immediately, releasing 49 yin soldiers and fierce ghosts. For Zheng Yi, his own life was the most important. If he lost his law weapon, he could refine another one. But if he lost his life, everything would be over. As someone who had already died once, Zheng Yi had luckily transmigrated to the Great Yi Immortal Domain, this immortal cultivation world. Having seized the opportunity of the end of the world, how could he be willing to die again? No one cherished their life more than him. In this cautious manner, he continued on his way. After only traveling 5 miles, he suddenly felt his body become heavy, and the surrounding air became sticky. It seemed as if he had passed through a thick barrier and squeezed himself in from the foam. In the blink of an eye, Zheng Yi entered a space shrouded in mist. The surrounding space was completely enveloped by dense fog, which contained some peculiar substances. Even with the spiritual eyes of a cultivator, it was impossible to see clearly beyond 2 meters. It seems that my eyes deceived me earlier. The entrance to the assimilating soul sect's mountain gate is actually a huge illusion array that directly envelops the entire sect's residence. In that case, my previous thoughts were too shallow. Although the assimilating soul sect has declined, its origins are probably not simple. This grand illusion array doesn't seem like something a typical foundation building stage small sect would have. If this is just part of the sect's protective formation, then I need to be more cautious in evaluating the entire assimilating soul sect. Carefully avoiding the fog, Zheng Yi's heart sank, thinking to himself. If he didn't have the guidance of the inner disciple token, with his cultivation and perception abilities, he would never have been able to find this place. Let alone pass through the illusion and arrive at the precise location of the mountain gate. The barren wilderness he had seen before was not the real scenery, but was covered by the illusion array. Without special guidance, ordinary cultivators would not be able to find the entrance to the illusion array. And after entering, it was clear that he had only passed through the outermost part of the assimilating soul sect's mountain gate, the first level of the illusion array. And this mist was probably a means of verifying identity. Even if someone accidentally entered this place, without guidance, they would likely be trapped and die here, let alone find a way to leave. The sect's residence had always been the most heavily defended place in the immortal cultivation world. It seems that this time, this sect made the right choice. Zheng Yi thought to himself. The assimilating soul sect's reputation in the surrounding demon realm is not prominent, but judging from the current situation, they still have some means and background. Zheng Yi's gaze fell back on the inner disciple token in his hand. With a slight movement in his heart, he infused the aura and spiritual power of the soul-capturing banner into the inner disciple token. Sure enough, as a faint light flickered, the white light emitted from it transformed into a red dot, displaying a peculiar arrow. Without hesitation, Zheng Yi followed the direction indicated by the red arrow and continued forward. This time, the distance was not far. After walking a few hundred meters, Zheng Yi passed through the area covered by dense fog, and the scene in front of him suddenly appeared. Looking up, Zheng Yi couldn't help but take a sharp breath. On both sides were bottomless cliffs. Looking down, the black mist churned, making it impossible to see what the bottom was like. It felt dark and eerie, causing a great horror in one's heart. Even those who were timid and afraid of heights would feel dizzy and weak in the legs. Under his feet was a staircase about 1 meter wide, leading up all the way to a deep valley hidden in a thick fog in the distance. It must be said that both the demonic sects and the righteous Tao sects in the immortal cultivation world liked to create an air of mystery. The righteous Tao sects appeared more ethereal, while the demonic sects were more mysterious and unpredictable. Who would have thought that following the guidance of the inner disciple token would lead to a staircase with bottomless cliffs on both sides? If one wasn't careful, they could really step into thin air and fall into the abyss. Even chi refining stage cultivators couldn't fly short distances, let alone falling off a cliff like this. It was certain death for those with mortal bodies. Zheng Yi didn't dare to gamble that the cultivators of the demonic sect would be so kind as to lend him a hand at the critical moment. Moreover, when he looked down, Zheng Yi felt that the black mist below was rolling and emanating a terrifying aura that made his feet go cold. It was as if something had locked onto him in an instant. That kind of terror was like facing a fierce tiger or giant beast for an ordinary person, with the terrifying pressure of life encountering great danger. In the midst of the surging black mist, Zheng Yi withdrew his gaze, not knowing what terrifying things were hidden beneath this cliff. Even if he didn't die from falling, it was probably not going to end well. First, there was the illusion formation, then the mist, and now the bottomless cliff. The methods of the assimilating soul sect were truly unpredictable. Perhaps this was the style of the demonic sects. Outside the valley, 2 disciples dressed in assimilating soul sect attire were stationed. When they saw Zheng Yi appear, they seemed to be having a conversation. Zheng Yi straightened his clothes, tied the white jade token representing his identity as an inner disciple around his waist, and walked up confidently. The disciple guarding the entrance glanced at him with a strange expression but didn't stop him. He let Zheng Yi enter the valley directly. In the blink of an eye, all the fog gradually dissipated, revealing a magnificent scene that was completely different from the previous eerie atmosphere. In front of him was a continuous group of buildings, towering structures standing in the valley, with glimpses of figures moving among them. Looking at the majestic valley, Zheng Yi took a deep breath and walked down. As he walked, Zheng Yi noticed that there weren't many people in the valley. Even the few assimilating soul sect disciples he encountered on the way seemed to be in a hurry, giving off an air of not wanting to be approached by strangers. Only now did Zheng Yi remember that at this time, the assimilating soul sect was engaged in a major sect war with the neighboring 100 Beast sect due to a spiritual stone vein. It was his first time coming to the sect's headquarters, and Zheng Yi was completely unfamiliar with this vast group of buildings in front of him. He didn't know where the internal affairs hall was. Even less did he know who to ask for information now. Suddenly, at this moment, a figure approached from not far away. Zheng Yi's eyes lit up. He clearly saw the outer disciple metal token on the man's body and immediately made up his mind. Without saying a word, he took a step forward and stood in front of the person. "Junior brother, I have something to ask you. May I ask where the internal affairs hall is in the sect?" Liang Qing had just received a sect mission and was preparing to leave the sect and go to the nearby market to make preparations. His cultivation level was close to the late stage of qi refining, and he had been diligently cultivating for many years. As long as he completed this mission, he would be able to receive a qi nurturing pill as a reward from the sect. If he was lucky, he might even make further progress. It was not an impossible thing. However, just as he was pondering how to integrate the mission, someone suddenly blocked his way. He hurriedly rushed forward and almost bumped into the person. Liang Qing couldn't help but feel angry. He raised his eyes with a cold gaze and found a completely unfamiliar young man in plain clothes, with a weary and dusty appearance as if he had been on a long journey. A country bumpkin who knows nothing. A newly arrived servant of the sect. Liang Qing's eyes caught sight of the disciple token hanging from Zheng Yi's waist. In fact, this conspicuous inner disciple token made of white jade was intentionally displayed by Zheng Yi. Suddenly, a cold water poured down from the top of Liang Qing's head. Liang Qing's expression changed, and the anger that had just risen in his heart was extinguished. A smile immediately appeared on his face, and he quickly bowed respectfully and asked, "Hello, senior brother. The location of the internal affairs hall is over there." After speaking, he pointed in the direction for Zheng Yi to go. Zheng Yi nodded and walked straight ahead. Behind him, Liang Qing's expression changed for a moment. Finally, he gritted his teeth and respectfully said from behind, "Senior brother, do you have any other matters?" Hearing the voice from behind, Zheng Yi paused and turned his head, furrowing his brows slightly. In a low and deep voice, he said. During this period, he had been killing zombies and refining fierce ghosts in the apocalypse world, which had cultivated an invisible aura of killing intent. Especially for cultivators who were skilled in divination, they could clearly sense that Zheng Yi naturally exuded a chilling aura. This was the result of dealing with ghosts too often, and it couldn't be easily imitated. Because Zheng Yi's cultivation level was still shallow, this kind of aura might be overlooked if one didn't pay attention. However, upon careful observation, one would feel as if there were countless resentful spirits and fierce ghosts swirling around him, howling and roaring. This kind of aura, coupled with his identity as an inner disciple, immediately had a great deterrent effect. Hearing Zheng Yi's low voice, Liang Qing's face turned pale and he quickly spoke respectfully. "Senior brother, please don't be angry. I can tell that you are unfamiliar with me. It should be your first time coming to the mountain gate. Explain clearly. What do you mean?" Zheng Yi's face darkened slightly, and he looked down at him with an indifferent expression. His tone involuntarily became heavier, and the heavy oppressive feeling that had gathered on him became even stronger. This comes from the suppression of ranks. Ever since he refined the soul-capturing banner into his law weapon, that unique cold aura on him has become even more intense. No. I think senior brother is not very clear about the distribution of the sect's headquarters. I presume you are a newly joined senior brother, hence this speculation, Liang Qing quickly explained, and then added. The Internal Affairs Hall is in charge of the sect's internal affairs. Disciples must go there to handle their duties and appointments. After listening, Zheng Yi's expression remained calm, silently watching him. Before coming here, he was indeed not clear about these matters. Now it's a good opportunity to understand the specific situation. Senior brother can go to the reception hall first and take a look. There, you will find detailed maps of the sect and introductions to the sect's information, Liang Qing said softly, looking at Zheng Yi's expression. Okay. After a pause, Zheng Yi nodded this time, and the cold and indifferent expression on his face finally disappeared. Liang Qing's anxious heart finally calmed down. In the assimilating soul sect, a demonic cultivation force like this, the hierarchy is strict at the low-grade level. In fact, whether it is in the orthodox Dao sect or the demonic Dao sect, the difference in status and rank within the sect is very significant. True disciples are high above, inner disciples are the backbone of the sect, and outer disciples are the lowest tier, apart from the sect's servants. And within the demonic cultivation force, this strict hierarchical relationship is even more severe. Inner disciples have the right to discipline outer disciples, and they can assign dangerous tasks to them. Anyway, as long as they want to kill you, there are plenty of methods. So most outer disciples either serve as lackeys or keep their distance, showing great respect in doing their own duties, trying not to cause trouble. This is because in a demonic Dao sect like the assimilating soul sect, inner disciples are the true core and can inherit various cultivation methods of the sect. Although outer disciples have a slightly higher status than servants, the sect doesn't care much about them. Liang Qing didn't want to pay attention to Zheng Yi before, until Zheng Yi unintentionally revealed his inner disciple token, which immediately changed his attitude. The speed of this change surprised Zheng Yi, who had been struggling at the bottom as an independent cultivator for many years. But there was no other way. Demonic cultivators have always been cold and indifferent, and they will retaliate for even the slightest grievance. If an outer disciple who is just a small part of the sect doesn't know how to observe and understand others' words and expressions, they won't know who they might offend one day, and they won't even know how they died. And Zheng Yi, who looks young, is already at the mid-stage of qi refining. Being able to become an inner disciple of the assimilating soul sect, he probably has some background and a promising future. If he can leave an impression, it might come in handy for Liang Qing, who is still struggling as an outer disciple, at some point. So, Liang Qing boldly asked a question, and unexpectedly answered Zheng Yi's doubts. You're not bad. What's your name? Senior brother, my name is Liang Qing. Zheng Yi asked another question that he was concerned about. What is the current situation of the battle between the sect and the beast-taming sect over the spiritual stone veins? Reporting to senior brother, I am lowly and ignorant, so I don't know many specific details. But I heard that this time, the higher-ups have become really angry, and the spiritual stone veins involved unexpectedly have middle-grade spiritual stones. Both our sect and the beast-taming sect are determined to obtain them. Most of our sect's fighting power has been dispatched, even the sect master and the elders have gone. However, I heard that although our assimilating soul sect still holds a certain advantage, it is not very realistic to expect to take down the 100-beast sect. This kind of inter-sect battle at this level will take several years to have a rough outcome. Liang Qing cautiously looked at Zheng Yi's expression and explained. It seems that this dispute over the spirit stone vein has a significant impact on the sect. It is unlikely to reach a conclusion in the short term. But for me, it's a good thing. Elder Gongsun has been transferred to the front line and is unlikely to return in the short term. Let them fight, let them fight. After all, every cultivator from the demon sect is fair game, none of them are innocent. It would be best if they all died there. Elder Gongsun might as well retire there. After sending Liang Qing away, Zheng Yi's expression remained the same, but he pondered inwardly. For him, the sect war was good news, as it wouldn't affect him, a newly joined disciple of the inner sect. After all, a dispute over a spirit stone vein, even if it once produced middle-grade spirit stones, wouldn't cause two sects to go all out. At most, it would be a protracted war, a war of attrition. In the short term, it would be hard to tell who would win or lose. This gave Zheng an opportunity to take advantage of the situation. After all, he had followed Elder Gongsun's path from the beginning and became an inner sect disciple in a short period of time. It was difficult for this kind of sect veteran not to notice such a problem. Moreover, he knew exactly what cultivation technique Zheng was practicing. The cultivation of the black evil technique required a large number of living souls or vengeful spirits. Where did Zheng obtain them from? Once Elder Gongsun became suspicious, he would be in danger. At the very least, it would cause a lot of unnecessary trouble. Don't be fooled by Elder Gongsun's easygoing nature in Blood Mist Abyss City. That was the result of bribing him with a large number of spirit stones. Cultivators are not without greed, because the path of cultivation is a competition on the Great Tao's narrow bridge. Without sufficient cultivation resources, why cultivate? One's success is built on the blood, sweat, and tears of the lower-level cultivators, and even on the bones of countless high-level cultivators. And for cultivators who cultivate demonic techniques, this greed is even more blatant. If Zheng was really suspected of having ulterior motives, he would definitely resort to any means necessary. The safety risks must be resolved. There are too many people and too many prying eyes in the sect. Although there is sufficient spiritual veins and spiritual energy for me now, it is not a good place. It exposes too many problems. I must quickly find follow-up cultivation techniques, as well as the secret method for refining and upgrading the soul-capturing banner, and then find a reason to leave here. Zheng had made up his mind. He couldn't stay here for long. He was different from ordinary sect cultivators. He had many secrets hidden within him. Some secrets could never see the light of day, and were not suitable for activities within the sect. Within the sect, there were many experts, and it was not safe for him to cultivate there. Having made up his mind, Zheng no longer hesitated. He first went to the sect's main hall and found a complete map of the sect and introductions to various places. However, according to the map, he first went to the administrative hall, handed over the white jade token, left a spiritual imprint, and also mentioned the name of the Blood Mist Abyss City's steward, Shayan-ju. Shayan-ju was greedy, but he was still reliable in handling matters. He had promised to take care of the relationship in advance and did not break his word. Zheng smoothly handed over his identity as an inner sect disciple and received the sect disciple's robe and the access control to his residence. Then, following the instructions on the sect map, he hurriedly went to the place he wanted to go the most. The back mountain, the transmission hall. Upon arriving at the hall of transmission, it was a very grand building. It didn't seem as heavily guarded as imagined, with only a few disciples from the sect checking at the entrance. Even when Zheng arrived, there wasn't much questioning. He was only asked to present his inner disciple token. One of the sect disciples tapped his token against Zheng transmitting some kind of special information, and then the exchange was completed, allowing Zheng to enter directly. The entire hall of transmission appeared spacious, but only Zheng knew. Although it seemed like there wasn't much scrutiny, as he approached the hall of transmission, his law weapon, the soul-capturing banner, trembled slightly. This caused Zheng senses and divine consciousness to expand several levels. In an instant, he felt a cold wind blow from his back to his front ribs. He could faintly sense that his body was being simultaneously locked onto by several forces. If he made any unusual moves, it would be enough to tear him to pieces. Those forces were extremely subtle, and they disappeared as soon as he presented his inner disciple token as required, completed the exchange, and was directly allowed through by the guards. Clearly, the hall of transmission appeared to be an ordinary hall with not many guards, but in reality, it was loose on the outside and tight on the inside. Within it, there hid an extraordinary power. Even during the battle between the assimilating Soul Sect and the 100 Beasts Sect, with numerous high-level combatants, the defensive power of the hall of transmission did not slacken in the slightest, and it might even have been strengthened. But Zheng understood in his heart. This was actually logical. After all, the hall of transmission was different from other places. It concerned the sect's inheritance and was not to be taken lightly. It was normal for it to be arranged at such a level. On the contrary, if people were allowed to come and go freely without any restrictions, Zheng would doubt whether he had come to a fake assimilating soul sect. And this kind of defensive power, deeply rooted and hidden in the dark, was the most terrifying. It was like a venomous snake hidden in a cold corner. If anyone underestimated the shallowness of the assimilating soul sect's pool, they would probably know what it meant for the heavens to crumble and the earth to split, what it meant for 10,000 tons of thunder. If it weren't for the reminder from his law weapon, the soul-capturing banner, Zheng would actually be blind and would not be able to understand the secrets and arrangements within. Do not underestimate this soul-capturing banner within his body. Although it was just a standardized product created by the assimilating soul sect to deal with ordinary outer disciples, it had all the necessary functions. The most important thing was that Zheng had put a lot of effort into refining it, refining a total of 49 yin soldiers and ghosts from the Doomsday world. Among them, there was even a bloodthirsty quality red-clothed ghost, which Zheng had refined into the main soul of the soul-capturing banner. If ordinary living souls were used for refining, it would take at least 400 to 500 lives to create the yin soldiers and ghosts within this primary soul-capturing banner. That terrifying bloodthirsty power would probably cause a chi refining stage cultivator like Zheng to fall into the demonic path and never be able to turn over. Even if it was to kill opposing cultivators, this soul-capturing banner would require the divine souls of 50 or more cultivators of the same level. For ordinary low-level cultivators, it would not only be impossible to achieve, but it would also be extremely difficult. Moreover, it also concealed a bloodthirsty quality red-clothed ghost as the main soul. The birth of a red-clothed ghost was just like the spiritual roots of cultivation, it relied on heavenly bestowal. It is not something that can be easily achieved by capturing the souls of 1 or 2 cultivators. In addition, Zheng has already refined this soul-capturing banner into his own law weapon. It can be said that their hearts are connected and their souls are linked. Only then can they harness the power of the law weapon and elevate their own sensing abilities, allowing them to perceive the hidden arrangements within the transmission hall. Of course, although his heart was shaken, Zheng appeared as if he knew nothing on the surface. There was no abnormality, no reaction, and he calmly walked in. He was an experienced actor, and he was more clear-headed than anyone else in such matters. With his cultivation at only the 4th level of chi refining, if he were to demonstrate strong perception abilities or other special qualities within the Modao sect, it would be like painting a target on his back, which would be absolutely harmful and useless for him. This 3-story building may not look big from the outside, but inside, it is like a grotto heaven, extremely vast. According to the guidance of the senior disciple who was guarding earlier, this transmission hall is the most important place in the sect, the core inheritance site. Inside, it contains various techniques, secret arts, and soul cultivation methods that the assimilating soul sect has collected over the past 300 to 400 years since its establishment. The sources are also different, including those passed down by the sect's founder, those collected by the senior members of the sect throughout the generations, and contributions from disciples in exchange for sect contribution points. There is also a part that was plundered during the sect's battles with other sects, not only from other Modao sects, but also from various cultivation techniques and scriptures plundered from the righteous sects during the battles between the righteous and demonic paths. The cultivation techniques passed down by the righteous path, universal truth, are peaceful, profound, and stable, but the drawback is that the cultivation speed is relatively slow, and it takes a long time to lay the foundation and cultivate the primordial spirit. On the other hand, the cultivation techniques of the demonic sect emphasize speed, with extremely fast cultivation speed and a specialty in the bazaar. However, they have shallow foundations and are prone to going astray, even directly falling into the demonic path. Both cultivation techniques have their advantages and specialties, and it is hard to say which one is more in line with the Great Tao. In the vast history of the Daya immortal domain, there are powerful immortal Tao experts who mediate and overturn the world, as well as demonic cultivators who cover the sky with one hand and have a 1,000-year-old demonic flame. Both paths are part of the Great Tao, it just depends on which one you choose and which one suits you better. But in the righteous Modao sect, practicing demonic cultivation techniques is a taboo within taboos. At the very least, it would result in the annihilation of one's cultivation base, and at worst, immediate death. The rules of the sect are severe, and it is not something to be taken lightly. However, in the demonic sect, there are no such restrictions at all. Demonic cultivators are originally unruly, devouring the heavens and earth to cultivate themselves as they please. If even the cultivation techniques are severely restricted, it would not be in line with the true nature of demonic cultivation. who would come to cultivate as a demonic cultivator then? Therefore, it is not strange for demonic sect disciples to occasionally learn a few techniques from the righteous path. But it can only be considered as a superficial understanding, far from being proficient. In essence, they mainly focus on the deceptive and ever-changing demonic cultivation techniques. After entering the transmission hall, Zheng Yi did not rush to find techniques, but casually browsed through the catalog of techniques and secret arts on the first floor of the transmission hall. He walked around for several hours before finally choosing the follow-up techniques for the Black Demon technique that he urgently needed, from the chi refining stage to the foundation building stage. As an inner disciple, he was allowed to choose 3 techniques from the sect's transmission hall. His second choice was not a cultivation technique, but the refining method for the soul-capturing banner. Due to the high quantity and quality of resentful spirits and fierce ghosts produced in the apocalypse world, the soul-capturing banners given to outer disciples by the sect could not withstand Zheng Yi's extraordinary performance in a short period of time, reaching their limit. In order to better refine resentful spirits and fierce ghosts, Zheng Yi had no choice but to choose to refine the soul-capturing banner himself, allowing it to advance and become a higher-level soul-capturing banner. After all, this law weapon had become his life-bound law weapon. It was a matter concerning his future path, and there was no room for any mistakes. The last one took Zheng Yi a long time to decide. Finally, among the many martial arts catalogs, he chose the Profound Demon Body Tempering Technique. From the name alone, it was clear what the core of this body refining technique was. That was demonic energy. This Profound Demon Body Tempering Technique required a sufficient amount of demonic energy to temper the body, refining it to a profound level, reaching the level of iron bones and silver muscles, greatly enhancing one's defensive abilities. Moreover, the higher the level of demonic energy refined by this Profound Demon Body Tempering Technique, the faster the cultivation progress. It was completely suitable for Zheng Yi's cultivation. It should be noted that the Black Demon technique Zheng Yi cultivated could generate demonic energy itself. Due to the large amount of refining of resentful spirits and fierce ghosts, it had now become the Azure Profound Demon. And as time went on and his realm improved, he would refine even more powerful resentful spirits and fierce ghosts, eventually reaching the level of the rumored 9 nether soul-slaughtering demon. According to the records of the sect, when the Black Demon reached the level of the 9 nether soul-slaughtering demon, the demonic energy could even contaminate cultivators at the gold core stage. Not only was it powerful, but it could also corrode the protective magical power of a gold core perfected being, greatly reducing their strength and the power of their spells. When facing enemies, it undoubtedly held an absolute advantage. There was another point. This Profound Demon Body Tempering Technique not only required tempering the body with demonic energy but also required a large amount of chi and blood to replenish oneself. The speed at which demonic energy eroded the body must not exceed the quantity of chi and blood within. Otherwise, the ultimate consequence would be the body being refined into a dried corpse. This body refining technique was one of the more difficult ones in the first level of the sect's transmission hall, already considered one of the best among chi refining stage body refining techniques. In fact, in the Great Yi Immortal Domain, there were many different types of elixirs to replenish chi and blood, such as blood chi pills, blood replenishing pills, blood increasing pills, and so on. These were all extremely popular types of elixirs, whether for demonic cultivators or righteous cultivators. They all needed to replenish their chi and blood. Chi and blood were the foundation for supporting the cultivation of the body. If there was insufficient chi and blood, it would be difficult to maintain one's realm. Only by continuously refining and replenishing blood elixirs could one maintain the vigorous function of the body and support cultivation. Apart from chi and blood, the more troublesome thing was finding demonic energy. Those natural places with demonic energy were extremely rare treasures. Once discovered, they would quickly be occupied by major forces or sects, and ordinary people had no qualifications to go and cultivate there. Take the assimilating soul sect, for example. If they were to occupy a place with demonic energy, the priority would still be given to the cultivation of the sect's high-level members. Even though Zheng Yi was an inner disciple, he did not have the qualifications to enter a place with demonic energy. It should be known that demonic energy was a kind of energy that needed to be replenished when foundation-building cultivators were breaking through to the Violet Palace realm. Only by replenishing enough demonic energy, circulating energy, harmonizing yin and yang, and rotating the 5 elements, could one ultimately open up the Violet Palace. As the saying goes, where there is yin, there is yang. Extreme yin gives birth to yang, extreme yang transforms into yin. Yin and yang complement each other, only then can they work together and follow the natural way. As a small sect in the demon realm, the Assimilating Soul sect had several foundation-building cultivators, with the most powerful being a late-stage foundation-building elder. It was precisely when they lacked a place with heavenly and earthly demonic energy. As for opening up the Violet Palace realm and the necessary gathering place for condensing demonic energy, it was no longer something that ordinary inner disciples could use. At the very least, they had to reach the foundation building stage to be qualified to use it. In the Assimilating Soul sect, there are only 3 cultivators at the foundation building stage, excluding the sect's elders and the sect master who oversees internal affairs. According to Zheng Yi's understanding, the total number of cultivators in the Assimilating Soul sect, including disciples and high-ranking members, is over 3,000. However, there are only 3 cultivators at the foundation building stage, indicating that this stage is not easily attainable by ordinary cultivators with average aptitude. In the Zonkong city of that year, only Qi refining stage cultivators were independent cultivators. A cultivator at the foundation building stage can already be considered a powerful cultivator. Cultivators at this stage can govern a city or oversee a trading market. They can become elders or worshippers of any small sect, and even establish a centuries-old cultivation family with bloodline descendants. The reason is simple. Only cultivators at this level of the foundation building stage can exert a deterrent force on other independent cultivator forces, which are like jackals and wolves. Zheng Yi's cultivation technique, Black Malevolent Qi, can perfectly resolve the issue of malevolent Qi. As for blood replenishment, he thought of something else that might serve as a substitute. After selecting these 3 cultivation techniques, Zheng Yi activated his wisdom and diligently imprinted every single character in his mind. These cultivation scriptures and secret techniques can only be learned within the transmission hall and are absolutely not allowed to be taken out or copied to prevent the leakage of the sect's heritage. Fortunately, cultivators undergo physical transformation, brain development, and astonishing memory of the soul. Each one can be said to have an extraordinary memory. A true transmission can be conveyed in a single sentence, while a false transmission can fill thousands of volumes. After spending 3 to 5 hours, he had firmly memorized all the contents. In front of the guarding disciples, Zheng Yi made a solemn oath that he would never disclose the sect's orders or the cultivation techniques he learned during his lifetime. Then he left the transmission hall directly. He went to the internal affairs hall of the sect and received a room for inner disciples to cultivate. Zheng Yi couldn't wait to verify his conjecture. These rooms were built on the rank 2 spiritual veins of the sect and emitted a dense spiritual energy. Moreover, they could activate defensive formations, isolating any fluctuations inside from spreading outside and unaffected by external disturbances. It was much better than the cultivation environment Zheng Yi had in Zonkong City. However, he still had some concerns. Zheng Yi released his law weapon, the soul-capturing banner, from his body, forming a huge black mist that enveloped the entire room. No one's divine sense could penetrate it before he was satisfied. After carefully studying the mysterious malevolent body tempering art, again, he began to operate it according to the method described. Zheng Yi picked up the soul-capturing banner and shook it slightly, releasing a wave of malevolent qi that filled the room. As the body-refining technique of the mysterious malevolent body tempering art circulated through his meridians, Zheng Yi clearly felt the malevolent qi in the air being attracted to his body and beginning to adhere to the surface of his body. Suddenly, a layer of gray substance covered his skin. Although it was visible to the naked eye, it was impossible to perceive whether it was a tangible substance. As the cultivation technique continued to operate, the malevolent qi in the room quickly poured into Zheng Yi's body. He could sense that a stone-like barrier had formed on the surface of his body, while internally, his blood and qi were being rapidly consumed as a result of the transformation caused by the malevolent energy. After just half an hour, a large amount of blood and qi had been depleted, causing Zheng Yi's complexion to become significantly pale. It's time. Sensing that the time was almost right, Zheng Yi directly took out a zombie crystal, the bloodstains on its surface having been cleaned long ago. With a strong grip of his fingers, there was a cracking sound, and a slight crack appeared on the surface of the crystal. A pure energy flowed out from within, and Zheng Yi immediately put it into his mouth. The pure energy swiftly passed through his throat, following the weak heartbeat caused by the depletion of blood and qi, and quickly circulated throughout his body. Previously, due to the excessive loss of blood and qi, his pale complexion now regained a hint of redness, gradually turning rosy. As expected, this crystal is the purest source of life energy. It can continuously replenish blood and qi, making it more convenient and efficient than those qi and blood replenishing pills. After all, every medicine has its side effects, and even qi and blood replenishing pills are no exception. They are artificially refined and cannot be perfect. But this zombie crystal contains pure life energy. Although the quantity is not much, it doesn't have any impurities or toxins. Most importantly, for me, this kind of zombie crystal is almost inexhaustible and inexhaustible. In an instant, Zheng Yi couldn't help but want to laugh out loud. Previously, in the post-apocalyptic world, the zombie crystals dropped by killing a large number of zombies contained extremely pure energy, making them an excellent choice for replenishing blood and qi. Although qi and blood replenishing pills were good, they were still pills and carried varying degrees of toxicity. Usually, the harm of the toxins might not be apparent, but once one became negligent, they could silently erode one's body. In dangerous situations or when encountering bottlenecks, the trouble caused by the toxins might erupt, potentially causing irreparable damage. The extremely pure life energy contained in these zombie crystals is derived entirely from heaven and earth, without any toxins. Having found suitable cultivation resources, Zheng Yi put a fasting pill in his mouth and went into seclusion to cultivate. Inside the cultivation room, the Qingshan malevolent energy generated from refining resentful spirits with the black malevolent technique was continuously released from the soul-capturing banner. As the black malevolent technique operated, the malevolent energy became viscous, gradually transforming from a faint light blue color to a deep blue. The ethereal malevolent energy, like air, at this moment, faintly began to emit a sound similar to flowing water. In the dense air, dark blue flames began to fill the surroundings, burning on the blue mist. The effect of this blue malevolent energy was much better than ordinary ghostly or yin malevolent energy. The malevolent energy attached to Zheng Yi's body surface and merged with it as the technique operated. This blue malevolent energy began to cover his body from top to bottom, like a set of blue armor enveloping him. At the same time, Zheng Yi took out one zombie crystal after another, eagerly throwing them into his mouth, absorbing the pure life energy contained within to replenish the continuously depleting blood and qi. It must be said that ever since the beginning of the end of the world, Zheng Yi has had a feeling of good fortune. For others, the various restrictions required for practicing the mysterious demon body tempering technique would be extremely difficult. But for Zheng Yi, it was easily attainable, as he had long been prepared. Whether it was the transformation of the black demon qi generated by the assimilation of resentful spirits and fierce ghosts, or the replenishment of life energy with zombie crystals, these were things that he had never dared to imagine before. During his time in the assimilating soul sect, Zheng Yi diligently practiced every day, either hiding in his own room or practicing in the cultivation chamber. Every time he practiced, he was extremely cautious. Not only did he activate defensive formations, but he also released his law weapon, the soul-capturing banner, enveloping the entire room in its yin demon qi. Only in this environment could Zheng Yi barely find peace of mind. During this period, his main focus of cultivation was the newly acquired technique, the mysterious demon body tempering technique. As for the follow-up techniques of the black demon qi, Zheng Yi was already familiar with the operating routes, but he had not started practicing them yet. The assimilating soul sect was located on a second-grade spiritual vein, which provided a certain boost to cultivation techniques. Therefore, many disciples of the sect preferred to stay in the sect and cultivate using the spiritual energy released by the powerful spiritual vein, which was much faster than cultivating elsewhere. However, compared to other techniques that could absorb spiritual energy to enhance cultivation, the foundation of the black demon qi technique was quite unique. Although it also required breathing in and exhaling spiritual energy, its level was completely based on assimilating various resentful spirits and fierce ghosts. It could be said that the more resentful spirits and fierce ghosts Zheng Yi assimilated, the faster his demonic energy would upgrade, progressing from the lowest level of black demon qi to the advanced mysterious yin demon qi, and then to the green mysterious demon qi. Advancing step by step, he could even transform all the attributes of his techniques into the legendary 9 nether soul slaughtering demon chi. By then, the power of this technique would be immeasurable. As long as there were enough resentful spirits and fierce ghosts as cultivation materials, Zheng Yi's speed of cultivating the black demon chi technique would be several times faster than cultivating other techniques. This was also an important reason why Zheng Yi was able to recover his cultivation level in a short period of time and break through to the mid-chi refining stage. Since the establishment of the assimilating soul sect, which had been at least 300 to 400 years, there had been several generations of inheritors of the sect's techniques. Naturally, Zheng Yi, a newly promoted inner disciple, could not know the methods mastered by the sect. Therefore, he dared not easily open the end of the world to prevent being discovered by the sect's powerful individuals. After all, there was still a foundation building stage cultivator guarding the sect. In this world where immortals and demons coexisted, and where the righteous path and demonic path were in opposition, Zheng Yi did not dare to stand out. If the higher-ups of the sect discovered any abnormalities in him, he would truly have nowhere to hide. Therefore, whether it was the follow-up techniques of the Black Demon Chi or the subsequent refining and upgrading of his law weapon, the soul-capturing banner, Zheng Yi would not easily display them within the sect unless he found a way to conceal them. To avoid exposing himself to those with ill intentions, it would be troublesome if that happened. The path of cultivation was always a struggle against the heavens and competition with others, seizing opportunities, plundering treasures, strengthening oneself, and pursuing higher realms. Therefore, it was best to be cautious and honest within the sect. Although the mountain gate of assimilating soul sect is a sacred land for cultivation, located on a second-grade spiritual vein, it greatly enhances the speed of cultivation. But I have too many secrets on me, and I can't let go of my hands and feet here. If there are any leaks, it will be troublesome. It seems better to find an excuse to leave the sect. The inner sect is not necessarily safe. Withdrawing his chi and converging his breath, Zheng Yi opened his eyes. His profound and sinister aura merged into his body. His deep gaze flickered with a chilling aura in the black room. After a while, Zheng Yi stood up, exhaled, and said, "The path of cultivation has 4 essential elements: wealth, techniques, location, and companions. Many people value the second-grade spiritual vein of the sect. By cultivating here, not only is safety guaranteed, but also the cultivation speed is much faster due to the abundant spiritual energy compared to other places." However, Zheng Yi does not value these benefits. He carries too many secrets on him and naturally does not want to expose himself in this environment for some trivial gains. If even a hint of his secrets is discovered by important figures in the sect, it would be harmful to him without any benefits. Moreover, the cultivation techniques he has chosen are unique. Although they also require spiritual energy, they do not necessarily require the support of a second-grade spiritual vein. He has a greater adaptability in choosing a cultivation location compared to other sect disciples. Even in a barren and scarce place with thin spiritual energy, as long as Zheng Yi can transmigrate back to the post-apocalyptic world and utilize the resources plundered from there, he can still quickly improve his cultivation level. At least, this is true for his current weak state, during the chi refining stage of cultivation. The only thing he lacks now is time. I learned from Liang Qing that besides dangerous tasks such as wanted arrests, the recent tasks in the Internal Affairs Hall include war conscription orders, which have released a large number of tasks and contributions. It seems that the sect is currently in great need of people, and the war with beast-taming sect is becoming increasingly intense. Fortunately, I am a newly joined inner sect disciple with a 2-year buffer period for tasks. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have been conscripted and sent directly to the front lines as cannon fodder. Zheng Yi secretly rejoiced. He didn't expect the sect war this time to be even more intense than he imagined. After the discovery of the middle-grade spiritual stone vein, assimilating soul sect had already summoned a group of inner sect disciples to be stationed there. Later, beast-taming sect joined the competition, directly triggering this large-scale war. If it was just a small-scale low-grade spiritual stone vein, it would at most cause friction between sects. But once it involves middle-grade spiritual stone resources, it represents huge benefits. Sects like assimilating soul sect and beast-taming sect, which are small demonic sects, will definitely fight tooth and nail. And the specific location of the spiritual stone vein belongs to a neutral zone, so neither assimilating soul sect nor beast-taming sect has complete legitimacy or enough power to swallow it all at once. This is what has caused the scale of this war to expand even further. The second batch of conscripted disciples has also been sent to the front lines. As the situation on the battlefield becomes more intense, the third batch of disciples led by the elders and sect master have also set off for the front lines. And now, the fourth batch of inner sect disciples is being conscripted. It is not an exaggeration to say that the number of inner sect disciples currently remaining in assimilating soul sect is less than 30% of its peak. Now they have to continue conscripting from this 30% of inner sect disciples, which shows the intensity of the war. However, Zheng Yi was not worried. Generally, only senior disciples are conscripted, and newly promoted disciples like him have the right to be exempt from conscription for 2 years. Cultivators are very practical, let alone demonic cultivators. They are narrow-minded, selfish, and even lawless. This requires weighing various interests. Otherwise, others join the sect to become apprentices and learn skills. Unexpectedly, before he could even finish learning his skills, on the first day of apprenticeship, he was directly conscripted and sent to the front lines as cannon fodder. Even the dumbest disciple would probably not be willing. Although it can be enforced under high pressure from the upper levels, inner disciples are different from ordinary outer disciples or sect servants. They are the backbone of a cultivation sect or demonic sect. If they were to become disloyal, the future of the Immortal Gate sect would be in jeopardy. Moreover, in large-scale sect wars like this, ordinary inner disciples are at most cannon fodder on the battlefield. They need to be at least at the 7th level of chi refining to be considered a small expert. Therefore, this is also a means for the sect to protect newly promoted inner disciples. There will always be some preferential treatment during the novice period. It's best to stay obediently in the novice village. Since being sent there means being cannon fodder, it's better to cultivate for a few more years, become stronger, and have some self-defense ability before being dispatched. These tasks are not of much significance to me. What I need now is not sect contribution points, let alone rewards. It seems that the only way to leave the sect now is to actively apply for external garrison missions. But these garrison missions require being sent elsewhere. Generally, they are in remote places, far from the sect. Out of sight, out of mind. So the garrison disciples have a lot of power, but they will also be far from the sect's secondary spiritual veins, causing their cultivation to stagnate. Generally speaking, these garrison missions are not difficult to obtain. Zheng Yi calculated in his heart, based on the information he had received before and the results of his visit to the Internal Affairs Hall. He found that these missions to garrison a certain area are rarely taken on by people, usually being compulsory tasks assigned by the sect. Regardless of the time, the identity of a sect disciple is only an external symbol. The identity of a cultivator is the true essence of everyone. And as a cultivator, whether it is on the righteous path or the demonic path, the cultivation level is always the eternal pursuit and topic. Especially in a small demonic sect like the assimilating soul sect, where competition is fierce, everyone's pursuit without exception is to improve their realm. To improve their realm, they need a large amount of spiritual energy, and the place with the most spiritual energy in the entire demon realm is naturally the inner sect residence for sect disciples. As for the places that need to be garrisoned, apart from strongholds like the Blood Mist Abyss City, most of them are far from prosperous areas. Especially the industries under the assimilating soul sect, those various small mines are mostly located in desolate wilderness with very little spiritual energy. Therefore, very few sect disciples are willing to go and garrison those places. Therefore, the tasks of garrisoning the mines are almost always forcibly assigned to inner disciples by the sect. With obligation comes power. The disciples garrisoning the mines usually have to fulfill their term before returning to the sect. During the garrison period, they can be exempted from participating in the sect's war conscription. In this increasingly intense battle between the assimilating soul sect and the 100 Beast sect, garrisoning the mines and staying away from the war might be a good opportunity. Although inner disciples are considered the backbone of the sect, they are just consumables in sect wars. With a firm determination, Zheng Yi went straight to the Internal Affairs Hall. The usually bustling Inner Affairs Hall has become much quieter with the sect war, and only a few outer disciples are searching for ideal tasks. As he walked, the outer disciples who saw him, noticing his attire as an inner disciple, instinctively stepped aside and bowed their heads to show respect. There were even fewer inner disciples. As Zheng Yi made his way, he only saw 2 or 3 people, all of them unfamiliar faces. Each of them hurriedly passed by without stopping or exchanging any greetings with him. Passing through the grand hall outside, he entered the inner hall, where a shriveled elderly steward received him. "Elder, I am a newly promoted inner disciple of the sect. I have come to collect an inner sect task. There are many things I don't understand, and I hope the steward can kindly teach and guide me." As he spoke, Zheng Yi flipped his right hand, and a bag containing stored spirit stones silently appeared and was handed over to the steward. This elderly steward must have seen this kind of thing many times before, as his face showed no trace of surprise. With a more skilled technique than Zheng Yi, he quietly took the bag. At the same time, his divine sense probed into the defenseless bag, and a kind smile immediately appeared on his face, making him look even more favorably upon Zheng Yi. Although it was just a casual probe, the weight and quantity of the stones in the bag delighted him, and he was very satisfied. There were no less than 30 low-grade spirit stones, which he could feel as soon as he held them. Not bad, not bad. Turning his hand, he put the bag into his embrace. The steward's face broke into a smile as he looked at Zheng Yi approvingly. Whether this, not bad, was an evaluation of Zheng Yi himself or the tribute of spirit stones, it was hard to say. "I am surnamed Zhang, a steward of the Inner Affairs Hall. I am responsible for the task arrangements for the next half-month. What is your name?" This steward Zhang's attitude suddenly underwent a 180-degree change, and he asked with a smile. Replying to steward Zhang, "I am Zheng Yi, a junior disciple." He took out his inner disciple token from his embrace and handed it over. Steward Zhang touched the token with the task list in his hand, and Zheng Yi's complete information appeared on it. After a brief glance, Steward Zhang's eyes lit up, and he smiled, saying, "So you are Elder Gongsun's descendant. Seeing that you have recently joined the sect and are already eager to devote yourself to the sect, you truly live up to being Elder Gongsun's disciple. I wonder which task you are interested in this time." Steward Zhang didn't waste any words. Taking people's money and solving their problems was his way of doing things. Having come to the Inner Affairs Hall and receiving such a generous gift, it would be hard to believe that Zheng Yi had no ulterior motives. In the world of cultivation, the law of the jungle prevails, and the strong survive. Therefore, their way of doing things is straightforward, as seen in their directness. Since Steward Zhang had accepted the gift and didn't hide it, he let Zheng Yi choose for himself. "As a disciple with humble strength, I hope to obtain a relatively safe garrison task. I hope the steward can fulfill my request." Naturally, Zheng Yi couldn't choose the task himself, so he explained his own needs. If he were truly Elder Gongsun's descendant, he could act arrogantly. But unfortunately, he wasn't. If he kept using Elder Gongsun's name and borrowing his reputation, he would only invite more trouble in the future. If someone remembered and personally sought advice from Elder Gongsun, it would not be worth the loss. At the very least, using Elder Gongsun's name to profit for oneself is an undeniable crime. As for this Elder Zhang, he imagined it himself, connecting himself with Elder Gongsun through some information on the inner disciple token. He has nothing to do with it. Sometimes, borrowing strength and using force requires skill. The guarding task, is it safe? Elder Zhang didn't think much and directly followed Zheng Yi's idea to check the task list. After choosing for a while, he finally confirmed a guarding task for a small black iron ore vein. It was a small black iron ore vein located 300 miles away from the sect. The disciples stationed there for the month had reached their term and needed to be replaced. Originally, it required at least a 5th or 6th level chi refining inner disciple to be sent. But now the sect was short on manpower, and many skilled inner disciples had been sent to the front lines. Zheng Yi's current cultivation level could barely serve as a substitute. After all, circumstances change, and adapting to the situation is not a problem. With Elder Zhang's authority, he could still make this decision. Then he showed Zheng Yi the task information and explained the requirements and key points of guarding the black iron ore vein. Looking at Zheng Yi, he said with great certainty, "Although this place is desolate, there are no powerful forces nearby, only a small family affiliated with the assimilating soul sect, as well as scattered independent cultivators. It's absolutely safe. Taking the information handed over by Elder Zhang, Zheng Yi looked at it seriously. It was a small black iron ore vein with a limited reserve that could be mined for about 50 to 60 years. After years of mining, this black iron ore vein had reached the late stage and would be abandoned in at most 10 years. There was only one Qi refining family nearby, the Qi family. In the past, the Qi family had several Qi refining late-stage experts, but a mishap occurred 10 years ago, causing internal turmoil. Several Qi refining late-stage cultivators from the family unexpectedly died, leading to their decline. Now, the Qi family was greatly weakened, and their strongest member was at the 6th level of Qi refining. The entire family relied on the assimilating soul sect and served as the guardian family for that small black iron ore vein. There were also a few independent cultivators in the vicinity, but their strength varied, and there was nothing noteworthy about them. All of these were peripheral forces of the assimilating soul sect. A mid-level Qi refining inner disciple going there would be enough to suppress the situation. As long as the stable pace of black iron ore extraction was maintained and no trouble occurred, it would be fine. All right, Zheng Yi's expression appeared calm, but he was secretly delighted. The information displayed completely matched the environment he hoped for. A secluded corner far from high-level cultivators was perfect for him to hide secrets, develop and grow, and stay away from the complex relationships within the sect. This black iron ore vein was of the super small type, not easily noticeable, and the surrounding environment was simple, without any particularly troublesome opponents or high-level cultivators going to such a remote corner. In addition, it was not too far from the sect, and the mine itself was on the verge of being abandoned. There were no powerful forces nearby, so he didn't need to worry about his own safety. All of this completely met Zheng Yi's needs and requirements. Very well, as long as you're satisfied. This task has been recorded in your inner disciple token. Now that you've accepted the task, according to the rules of the Internal Affairs Hall, you need to arrive at the black iron ore vein within 10 days. The duration of this assignment is 2 years. Whether there will be an extension or rotation afterward will depend on the situation. Elder Zhang was also very satisfied. He had only assigned a guarding task and received dozens of low-grade spirit stones in return. So, he looked at Zheng Yi more favorably, and his attitude became more amiable. Originally, the selection for this task could be strong or weak. Zheng Yi, who had just reached the mid-stage of Qi refining, seemed a bit weak to be stationed at a black iron vein. However, this vein was on the verge of being abandoned, and black iron essence was a common material. Small-scale veins like this were generally not valuable and were considered tasteless but a pity to discard. But it was impossible to completely leave this black iron vein unguarded. Although there were families like the Qi refining Qis cooperating, the sect was also afraid that these small families would guard it for themselves and prevent independent cultivators, who were like locusts, from having any ideas. After all, black iron essence was a refining material. Although not precious, it was arranged for inner disciples to guard it to prevent others from coveting it. Zheng Yi was quite satisfied with this task assigned by the sect. Zheng Yi had some understanding of black iron essence. He needed a large amount of it to refine and upgrade his soul-capturing banner. In addition to the portion he had to submit to the sect, he had already reserved the excess black iron essence. This material belonged to the most common refining materials, and black iron veins could be found in many places. Unless it was an extremely large vein that gave rise to valuable subsidiary veins, it was not highly valued. That's why it was Zheng Yi's turn as a newly promoted inner disciple. As for the authorization to guard precious veins, it was a plum assignment that even bribing with a large amount of spirit stones would not be given to Zheng Yi. With a 10-day deadline, Zheng Yi had only stayed in the sect for 3 days before heading directly to the station with some simple supplies. During these 3 days, he also collected materials for upgrading his soul-capturing banner. Inside the sect's market, Zheng Yi happily paid with spirit stones. He bought a piece of unremarkable, black-painted metal from a cultivator's stall. But one must not underestimate this piece of metal. It was the core spiritual material for upgrading the soul-capturing banner. Earth Soul Silver. This black metal, the size of a fist, contained an extremely cold aura inside, formed by the accumulation of endless years. Usually, areas where this kind of metal was found had experienced massive loss of life before it went through the long years to form this Earth Soul Silver. Zheng Yi didn't dare to refine the soul-capturing banner within the sect. Instead, he rented a fire chamber in an external market with spirit stones. This fire chamber was powered by earth fire, with moderate power. It couldn't compare to the spiritual fire or demonic flames cultivated by cultivators, but it had the advantage of endurance, making it suitable for chi refining stage cultivators to refine law weapons. Zheng Yi sat in the fire chamber, released his own law weapon, the soul-capturing banner, and immediately filled the entire fire chamber with a dense aura of yin and death, creating its own world. Then, he used his divine sense to envelop the fist-sized Earth Soul Silver, which quietly flew above the fire pit. Immediately, he activated the formation, and the fire in the fire chamber burned fiercely. Zheng Yi focused his attention as the temperature of the flames increased. The hard Earth Soul Silver reached its melting point and gradually melted into a sticky black liquid. Now is the moment. A gleam flashed in Zheng Yi's eyes as he pointed his finger. The Earth Soul Silver, which had already turned into a sticky liquid, twisted and deformed under his control. He chanted mysterious incantations and followed with complex spells. After a series of casting, the interior of the Earth Soul Silver liquid formed numerous intricate symbols. Those symbols were densely packed, like ants. At this moment, Zheng Yi's divine sense had reached its peak. After all, his cultivation level was still a bit low, otherwise, manipulating this spell would definitely not be so difficult. But having upgraded to the Qingshan evil art gave him confidence, allowing him to barely control the development of the entire process. Gradually, that sticky black liquid was refined smaller and smaller, and more impurities were forged into nothingness. Zheng Yi focused all his attention. This step was the most crucial. He dared not be the slightest bit careless, his hands constantly changing and intertwining, forming complex spells, while summoning his law weapon, the true form of the soul-capturing banner. A black and gloomy magic banner floated silently in front of him. Zheng Yi didn't even dare to take a breath. He pointed with his finger. Under the control of invisible force, the melted Earth Soul Silver liquid, like a spiritual snake, twisted and entwined towards the magic banner, with invisible force and mysterious ingredients penetrating into it. And with a wave of his hand, other prepared materials appeared one by one. These materials were also thrown into the earth fire, melting and refining bit by bit, and absorbed by the soul-capturing banner under his control. Zheng Yi was fully focused, without any carelessness, carefully proceeding to the next step. His movements were smooth and flowing, under the control of his divine sense, absorbing numerous ingredients. Complex patterns appeared on the surface of the soul-capturing banner, spreading like a spider web. Then Zheng Yi bit his finger, using his spiritual power to force out his own essence blood, using his own blood to draw complex talismans on the surface and pull of the soul-capturing banner. These talismans were eerie and gloomy, filled with the mysterious power of exorcising and controlling spirits. This was the core of upgrading the entire soul-capturing banner. These runic talismans were the true talismans of the soul-capturing banner, not something that could be taught to disciples of the assimilating soul sect. Even if Zheng Yi advanced to become an inner disciple, he had made a solemn vow to the heavens that he would not teach these secret talismans without the permission of the sect. Otherwise, he would face heavenly punishment. There is a saying that, gods are 3 feet above your head. Whether it is a demonic cultivator or a righteous cultivator, they would not joke about such matters. They take this matter very seriously because once a solemn vow is made to the heavens, it will definitely take effect. At this moment, Zheng Yi was not nervous. Because he knew that as long as he successfully drew the 99 exorcising and controlling spirit talismans with his own essence blood, he would have completed the first step of laying the foundation for the soul-capturing banner. However, this step was also the most mentally exhausting. Zheng Yi's face turned pale, his divine sense was greatly depleted, his spiritual power began to wane, and his essence blood was also rapidly consumed. Even though he had reached the mid-stage of chi refining, he felt a bit overwhelmed. But he knew that he couldn't be the slightest bit careless at this moment. 1,000-mile dike could collapse from an ant-hole, and a slight difference could lead to a huge gap. Blood light emanated one by one, and more demonic runes, like twisted tadpoles, quietly appeared on the surface of the soul-capturing banner. The entire soul-capturing banner was enveloped in a hazy red light, finally forming 99 peculiar and twisted ghostly symbols. Zheng Yi let out a long breath. 99 exercising and controlling spirit talismans. Completed. When the last stroke of essence blood transformed into the exercising and controlling spirit talisman, Zheng Yi, with a pale face, withdrew his hand. This casting had consumed a large amount of his essence blood and almost drained him. And all the exercising and controlling spirit talismans gathered together, suddenly converging inside the magic banner. The soul-capturing banner released endless black mist, countless ghostly hands stretched out densely, constantly wriggling, as if trying to drag people into the abyss of hell. Zheng Yi knew that the initial refinement had been successful. The spiritual energy within his body quickly circulated along the blood-red patterns on the surface of the soul-capturing banner, rapidly refining it and regaining control over it. Immediately, the pitch-black surface of the banner produced endless wails and cries of ghosts. Finally, Zheng Yi's power merged and connected with the soul-capturing banner, refining the entire surface once again. Moreover, the 99 seals of the soul-capturing banner were completely refined by him, completely integrating with the banner and dissolving within it. Zheng Yi pinched his fingers and chanted an incantation, causing peculiar fluctuations to emanate from the spell. The treasures on the surface of the soul-capturing banner dimmed, transforming back into an ordinary small black magic banner, quietly suspended in front of Zheng Yi. With a wave of his hand, the magic banner fell into his palm, obedient like a well-behaved puppy. The soul-capturing banner required 3 sacrifices and 3 refinements, iterative upgrades, especially since Zheng Yi had already refined this small banner into a law weapon. The fate of both parties was intertwined, crucial to his path, and he couldn't afford to be careless. It's still not enough. This magic weapon truly lives up to the refining method passed down by the founding ancestor of the assimilating soul sect. It seems simple and easy to learn, but difficult to master. To refine it into the 100-soul banner or the 1,000-soul banner, it cannot be achieved without fortuitous circumstances. Otherwise, refining the souls of living beings or the divine souls of cultivators would surely incur heavenly wrath and human resentment. Either one would be beaten to death or plagued by blood feuds and karmic backlash. Furthermore, it requires the consumption of numerous resources to forge a sturdy law weapon embryo. Otherwise, the many yin soldiers and fierce ghosts refined within it will surely backlash against their master. No wonder the power of this law weapon is so great. However, within the assimilating soul sect, it is merely an auxiliary law weapon for ordinary disciples. Few people have refined it into a law weapon of their own, let alone heard of anyone becoming famous with this magic weapon. The last person to become famous with the soul-capturing banner was the Kuhun Patriarch 200 years ago. It is said that he was naturally yin-bodied and accidentally fell into the abyss of demons, miraculously surviving. He also obtained a piece of the 10,000-year slaughter god purple essence stone, using it to refine the magic banner. Later, during the third battle between righteousness and evil, he refined countless cultivators, achieving the fearsome might of this treasure. Unfortunately, later on, that 1,000-soul banner encountered a gold core expert from the righteous flying sword god sect and was cut into 2 pieces. The old Kuhun perished as well. But to be able to contend against a Violet Palace realm and gold core cultivator for the time it takes to drink a cup of tea, especially one known for their attack power in the world, the reputation of the 1,000-soul banner is indeed not unfounded. Thinking of this, Zheng Yi became extremely excited. With the end of Day's world as his backing, the day he cultivates the 1,000-soul banner is not far away. Although he doesn't have the same fortuitous encounter as the old Kuhun, who used the 10,000-year slaughter god purple essence stone to refine the magic banner, he can use the stacking method to enhance the power of his law weapon, the soul-capturing banner, with numerous resources. Purple smoked mother copper, sandalwood blackwood, black essence 100 refinement iron. Grasping the banner pole of the soul-capturing banner, feeling the hidden power within it, Zheng Yi gained greater confidence in further upgrading this law weapon. These are the materials Zheng Yi listed for the subsequent upgrade of the soul-capturing banner. Today, he was fortunate enough to buy the relatively rare earth soul silver in the sect's market, which can only be considered as an initial refinement, consolidating the foundation of the soul-capturing banner. After all, the original form of this magic banner was a product of the outer sect disciples, made from inferior materials, making one's scalp tingle. If it weren't for Zheng Yi refining hundreds of resentful spirits and fierce ghosts in the end of days world, it would not have been possible for this law weapon to possess such power. But to go further, he still needs various complex sacrifices and refinements, requiring dozens of different materials. Of course, these precious or ordinary materials are not just for the purpose of advancing the soul-capturing banner to the pinnacle of the chi refining stage. From the beginning, Zheng Yi's goal was to strive for a law weapon at the foundation building stage level. After all, the soul-capturing banner is his law weapon during the chi refining stage. With the support of the Doomsday world, Zheng Yi is not lacking in cultivation resources. There are an astonishing number of resentful spirits and fierce ghosts everywhere, which can be said to be resources for improvement. Like the Blood Demoness and the 100-year green ghost encountered before, they are probably just appetizers in that eerie Doomsday world. As Zheng Yi gradually explores the Doomsday world, even more terrifying ghosts and spirits will appear. Once he encounters terrifying ghosts and spirits that he cannot contend with, how can Zheng Yi stop them? On this point, Zheng Yi has never doubted. During the process of transmigrating to the Doomsday world last time, Zheng Yi also came into contact with some local indigenous residents and learned some terrifying rumors from them. It is said that in a certain city, there is a complete ghost army wandering, with a number of over tens of thousands. They are disciplined and exceptionally powerful. They once swept through a city in a day, slaughtering all the population and zombies. It should be noted that among these millions of zombies, they are not just ordinary fellows, but also numerous mutated red-eyed zombies, including the king who commands the zombies. They are almost the undisputed local overlords. But even with such strength, they were still swept away and killed by the ghost army. There is also a giant ghost creature said to be 100 meters tall. Wherever it goes, not to mention resistance, even being enveloped in its terrifying ghostly aura will be directly corroded and transformed into a terrifying ghost creature. Anyway, there are countless unbelievable legends about the Doomsday world. Various powerful evil spirits, zombie kings, terrifying mutated beasts, and so on, have made Zheng Yi's originally excited heart calm down. This world is still too dangerous, not something that a small chi refining cultivator like himself can handle. He needs to steadily uncover the true face of this mysterious Doomsday world step by step. That's right, what Zheng Yi lacks is time. In the short term, with the help of the characteristics of the Black Demon technique, he can continue to refine the resentful spirits and fierce ghosts, upgrading his demonic energy. However, the realm improvement brought by the cultivation technique is relatively unlikely to be too fast. After all, he doesn't want to fail to advance when he tries to break through to the foundation building stage due to an unstable foundation. Therefore, Zheng Yi has to focus on his law weapon. As long as the soul-capturing banner is strong enough to imprison more powerful fierce ghosts and produce more yin soldiers, his combat power will also increase. For example, the 300-year-old green ghost he encountered last time, if it weren't for the fact that the soul-capturing banner couldn't bear it, he would have already let the banner devour it. The soul-capturing banner in his hand has reached its limit. After obtaining the follow-up upgrade method for the soul-capturing banner from the inner Sect transmission hall, he has been diligently searching for various upgrade materials. He has almost searched the entire Sect's market, but Zheng Yi has only found less than 30% of what he needs. There is still a huge gap to completely gather them. However, there are only a few materials left to upgrade the soul-capturing banner to rank 1. Zheng Yi plans to complete it during this opportunity to station at the Black Iron Mine. Of course, searching for so many materials costs quite a bit. After refining the 100-year-old green ghost, the spiritual stones obtained from selling the green essence soul have dwindled to just a few hundred. This time, going to the mine is half for finding materials and half for obtaining some spiritual stones. Chapter 31. After spending about 2 days, Zheng Yi arrived near the black refined iron vein. Sure enough, it was a desolate place with only one mining site and a broken low-grade spiritual vein. Therefore, the spiritual energy here was quite thin. No wonder the inner disciples were unwilling to come and guard this place. Compared to the inner sect of the assimilating soul sect, this place was simply a poor and dangerous area. Not to mention living comfortably, even cultivation would be affected if one stayed here for a long time. Just as Zheng Yi was heading towards the black refined iron vein, in the main hall of the Chi family, the dominant figures of several families in the nearby town were discussing him. Isn't the Assimilating Soul Sect currently engaged in a major battle with the 100 Beast Sect? Why do they still have the leisure to send an inner disciple to guard the vein? Chi Yuan, the third son of the Chi family, complained. It is said that the Assimilating Soul Sect has just obtained the mining rights for a large high-quality purple copper vein. They are unwilling to give up even a black refined iron vein. They are truly stingy. How about we do the same as last time and bribe him enough to just put on a show? I think it's inappropriate. The inner disciples of the Assimilating Soul Sect are all greedy by nature. Sects like this have always been ruthless, and they won't stop until they have squeezed everything dry. The inner disciple who left last time took away all the resources that our Chi family had accumulated for 3 years. If it happens again, it will undoubtedly be a severe blow to our future plans. Chi Yuanming, the second son of the Chi family, said angrily. According to the intelligence I received, the inner disciple sent to guard this time has only recently broken through to the mid-stage of Chi refining. He is just a young kid. A mere 4th level of Chi refining wants to control our Chi family. Isn't that underestimating us? We should show our strength first and let him know. We can offer benefits, but our Chi family is the true ruler of the black refined iron vein in Badong Town. The Chi family had been operating in Badong Town for 100 years. They used to be a major Chi refining late-stage family, and even had a chance to reach the foundation building stage. Unfortunately, a civil strife more than 10 years ago brought everything to a halt. During the peak of the Chi family's power, they only needed to pay a portion of their profits to the Assimilating Soul Sect. But later, as the Chi family declined, the Assimilating Soul Sect sent people to guard the vein, seizing the dominant position of the vein from the Chi family and preventing the entire cultivation family from developing further. The current heads of the Chi family were the 3 present in the room. The eldest, Chi Yuanming, was at the 6th level of Chi refining and was the patriarch and ruler of the family. The second and third sons of the Chi family assisted the patriarch and controlled the family's business. Due to its remote location, thin spiritual energy, and lack of special products, the only source of spiritual stones for the majority of the family was the black refined iron vein. In the past, the Chi family was a Chi refining late-stage family, so the Assimilating Soul Sect would not excessively pressure them. But now, every few years, the Assimilating Soul Sect would send inner disciples to guard the vein, not only to seize a large amount of profit for the sect, but also to demand more. This directly hindered the development of the Chi family. As the local tyrant and snakehead of Badong Town, the Chi family naturally did not welcome the inner disciples sent by the Assimilating Soul Sect to guard the vein. After all, he is an inner disciple of the sect. We can't afford to offend him. Let's see how he is first before making any plans. Besides, losing some profit is a small matter. The most important thing is that we absolutely cannot allow him to enter the deepest part of the black refined iron vein. The things there are the hope of the Chi family's resurgence, absolutely cannot be lost. In the end, the clan leader Chi Yuanzong's eyes darkened, and with one statement, he made up his mind. Calculating the time, that disciple from the upper sect should be arriving soon. Second and third brother, come with me to greet them. Just as Zheng Yi entered the valley, suddenly, several figures appeared on the opposite side, followed by a surge of terrifying momentum. The middle-aged man leading them shouted loudly. The envoy from the upper sect has arrived. Chi Mo and the people of the clan have come to greet you. Zheng Yi stood still, looking at the rapidly approaching figures. A hint of a cold smile appeared in his eyes. Nice words, coming to welcome me, but each one exudes a powerful force, overwhelming and not at all like a welcome. Instead, it seems more like a show of force, making me aware of my position. If you don't even bother to hide it, then it's your own fault. Zheng Yi sneered inwardly, but his face showed no expression. Holding the token of an inner disciple, he responded loudly. Zheng Yi, an inner disciple of the Assimilating Soul Sect, following the orders of the sect, I have come to guard the Black Essence Iron Vein in Badong Town. The Chi family figures moved quickly. When they saw Zheng Yi's appearance and sensed his Chi refining 4th layer cultivation, they couldn't help but exchange glances, their smiles becoming even brighter. It seems that the battle for the middle-grade spirit stone mine between the Assimilating Soul Sect and the 100 Beast Sect has reached a white-hot stage. To think they only sent a mere chi refining 4th layer disciple to guard the Badong town mine, their strength has seriously declined. According to past practice, disciples of sects have undergone strict training and have abundant resources. In the same realm, their combat power is much stronger than that of ordinary independent cultivators or cultivators from chi refining families. So, in order to completely control the entire Badong town mine, the sect would usually send inner disciples at the 5th or 6th layer of chi refining. With that level of strength, even the chi family's 3 brothers would have some trouble dealing with them. They could only pretend and try to satisfy their demands as much as possible. But the intelligence that came back this time was actually true. The assimilating soul sect had only sent a chi refining 4th layer newly promoted inner disciple. And looking at that young face, it didn't seem difficult to deal with. Their plan to continue occupying the mine and the deeper arrangements behind it seemed less difficult. Haha, the disciple from the upper sect is truly talented. Qi Yuanzong smiled and said, the disciple from the upper sect has come from afar, and the Qi family has prepared a simple meal. Please honor us with your presence. As the local bigwig, the Qi family was the strongest Qi refining family within 100 miles of the Badong town mine. Any disciple from the assimilating soul sect who arrived would need to establish a good relationship with the Qi family in order to completely control the mine and have a smooth operation. However, Zheng Yi's purpose for coming this time was not simple. He didn't have time to waste on small talk with them here. He said calmly, the Qi family is too polite. I will be stationed here for a long time. There's no need to prepare a banquet. It's better to go and see the mine at this time. This is a task given by the sect. If there are any problems, I won't be able to escape the consequences. When this statement came out, Qi Yuanzong was taken aback. Could this newly promoted inner disciple of the assimilating soul sect be a hothead? Who knows, if he doesn't establish a good relationship with the Qi family, even if he is a disciple of the upper sect, he will probably have a hard time in the Badong town mine. Even the inner disciples who had come before, at the 6th level of Qi refining, did not behave so disrespectfully, which made the 2nd and 3rd sons of the Qi family very dissatisfied. When they were about to retort, they were stopped by Qi Yuanzong. At this moment, the tyrant of the eastern town, the head of the Qi family, also put away his smile and said with a somewhat stiff face, the resident envoy of the sect is right, it was my carelessness. Since that's the case, let's prioritize the important matters of the sect. Please. While speaking, Qi Yuanzong signaled to the 2nd and 3rd sons behind him, and the 2 of them quickly merged into the crowd. Zheng Yi pretended not to see the Qi family's little actions. Before he came here, he had already made up his mind to cut through the chaos with a quick knife. He didn't have time to play these power games with these people. This was a valley surrounded by 3 mountains, and the black iron ore vein was located here. When Zheng Yi arrived at the valley, he saw a group of thin and ragged miners huddled together in the open space of the valley. The leaders were the 2nd and 3rd sons of the Qi family. Resident envoy, this is the ore vein. They are all lowly people, nothing interesting to see. Seeing Zheng Yi wanting to go inside, he was stopped by Qi Yuanzong, who explained with a smile, this will be the place where Zheng will personally reside in the future. If we deceive the sect about how much black iron ore is produced here, it will be a grave offense. Zheng Yi waved his hand and directly pushed away the arm that was blocking his way, walking straight towards the valley. Qi Yuanzong's face was filled with anger as he watched Zheng Yi's back, his eyes flashing with a dangerous aura. Stopping his steps, Zheng Yi loudly addressed the managers of the ore vein and the many miners. From today onwards, I will be in charge of this mine. I hope you all behave yourselves and don't violate my rules. Continuing, he asked, who is in charge of this mine? Step forward and let me see. With a calm voice, accompanied by an inexplicable majesty, an invisible pressure enveloped the managers present. This, only to see a fat man wiping the sweat off his forehead, his gaze involuntarily turned towards Qi Yuanzong standing behind Zheng Yi, as if seeking confirmation. Seeing the other party standing expressionless behind Zheng Yi, he couldn't help but hurriedly step forward. I am Qi Lin, the supervisor of this ore vein. Zheng Yi looked at this fat man with great interest, remaining silent for a long time. The sternness in his gaze made Qi Lin even more uneasy, and his body trembled slightly, becoming shorter. Yes, Qi Lin didn't know how to respond, so he could only nod repeatedly, smiling apologetically. How much does this mine produce in a month? Unexpectedly, Zheng Yi asked, his eyes emitting a strange green light at this moment. With the help of his law weapon, the soul-capturing banner, he activated the soul-capturing demon sound, enveloping the fat man in front of him. This left Qi Lin, who was in a panic, with almost no reaction. He opened his mouth and answered, "It produces 16,000 jin of black iron ore." Zheng Yi patted Qi Lin's shoulder again, turned around abruptly, and looked towards Qi Yuanzong, unable to help but ask. "That's strange. I checked the sect's records and found that only 6,600 jin of resources were reported last month. So where are the remaining 9,000 jin?" Although he said it with a smile, there was a hint of coldness in his tone, chilling enough to suffocate. Qi Lin, this big fatty, suddenly felt like the sky was about to collapse. Why would such important data be revealed? His face turned pale instantly. He quietly looked up and glanced at Qi Yuanzong's eyes filled with killing intent, feeling a sense of fear. His legs went weak, as if he was about to fall down. But Zheng Yi pulled him up and made him stand firm. As the sect master joking. With a gloomy expression, Qi Yuanzong asked each word carefully. "I hope it's just a misunderstanding, but the quantity on the report is very clear. I never expected that there would be someone embezzling within the sect. Do they think that my assimilating soul sect's blade is not sharp enough?" Zheng Yi said without flinching, meeting Qi Yuanzong's gaze. Their eyes clashed invisibly. "Sect master, I hope you take responsibility for what you said. This is still Qi family's territory. It's better to think carefully about certain matters." The situation had developed to this point, and it seemed that this newly promoted inner disciple of assimilating soul sect had come for Qi family. The contradictions had been exposed openly, with hardly anything left to hide. On Qi Yuanzong's side, Qi Yuanming and Qi Yuansheng gathered behind their family head, exerting pressure on Zheng Yi. "You're mistaken. This is not Qi family's territory, but assimilating soul sect's territory. Occupying the sect's interests, not only refusing to serve the sect, but also embezzling. Truly damaging the public for personal gain, a group of rats." Zheng Yi scanned the crowd, his smile on his face even more pronounced, and calmly said. "Moreover, after coming to this mine, I seem to have discovered some more interesting things." What is the sect master saying? Qi has not understood clearly. When Qi family's head, Qi Yuanzong, heard this, a hint of unease flashed across his face, and finally, a murderous intent appeared in his eyes. What did Zheng say? I'm sure the head of Qi family understands very well. If it weren't for the warning from the little treasure inside me, I wouldn't have known that the esteemed Qi family, a Qi refining cultivation clan, actually had such abilities. They actually set up the 9 yin gathering evil formation in the black iron ore vein right under my assimilating soul sect's nose. No wonder this ore vein is depleting so quickly. I believe it is also related to the loss of spiritual veins in the entire Badong town mine. To set up the 9 yin gathering evil formation, it is not something that can be done overnight. I believe Qi family has been operating in this place for at least a century. I am nothing but curious. What secrets are hidden here? On behalf of assimilating soul sect, I declare that the 3 Qi brothers are guilty. Today, you will be captured and await the sect's punishment. Before the words fell, Zheng Yi made a move, and the soul-capturing banner appeared in his hand. The black mist rolled, surging with a dark blue aura-like raging flames, illuminating the valley. Don't think that being a sect master allows you to cover the sky with one hand. Today, we will capture you and report to the elder for your crime of acting recklessly. Qi Yuanzong saw that Zheng Yi was about to take action and no longer concealed anything. He never expected that this newly promoted inner disciple at the 4th level of Qi refining, despite appearing young, would be so cunning and ruthless in his methods. Moreover, his intentions were clearly directed at the Qi family. By directly obtaining the production from the steward, he caught the Qi family off guard, causing the situation to become uncontrollable. What's more, it was the revelation of the secret that made Qi Yuanzong's heart filled with murderous intent. That is, this inner disciple of the assimilating soul sect immediately exposed the secret that the Qi family had hidden for 100 years. The 9-yin gathering evil vein formation beneath the black iron ore vein was arranged by the Qi family over the course of an entire generation, at the cost of countless efforts, resources, and even almost depleting the entire Qi family. Especially a dozen years ago, in order to stabilize the formation, even the Qi family's only 3 Qi refining late-stage cultivators were sacrificed. With such a great price paid, the things within this 9-yin gathering evil vein formation were the hope for the Qi family's resurgence. Furthermore, it was even more than that. It was the hope of becoming a family of foundation-building stage cultivators, and there absolutely couldn't be any loss. Anyone who knew this secret must die. Moreover, besides the black iron ore vein, the Qi family also had a super small subsidiary vein of spirit stones hidden beneath it. It was with the help of this undeveloped and incomplete spirit stone mine that the Qi family's ancestors were able to arrange the 9-yin gathering evil vein formation, even at the cost of entangling their karma, merging their bloodline, and dying without leaving behind a trace of their true spirit. Even reincarnation would be impossible. And in these years, besides the continuous investment of resources from the Qi family, the 9-yin gathering evil vein formation also relied on absorbing the energy from the small spirit stone mine embryo to operate. In the territory of the assimilating soul sect, privately excavating spirit stone veins, not reporting it, and maliciously damaging the veins, is a capital offense under any cultivation force. Even for this reason, Qi Yuanzong absolutely would not allow any leakage of this secret. Otherwise, what awaits the entire Qi family would be an unimaginable disaster. Although he didn't know how Zheng Yi discovered it, just by stepping into the entrance of the mine, he was able to immediately expose the hidden secret. So even the inner disciples of the assimilating soul sect must be killed. And today, everyone in this valley who knows this secret must be silenced. There must be no risk of any leaks. The only way is to capture Zheng Yi, and then spend a portion of the spirit stones to fabricate the harm caused, in order to avoid this crisis for the Qi family. Of course, by doing so, the amount of resources spent within the assimilating soul sect afterwards would not be small, enough to greatly weaken the already declining Qi family. Therefore, Qi Yuanzong's hatred towards Zheng Yi increased even more. But he saw that the people of the Qi family all released flying swords, and dazzling sword lights shot out, seemingly trying to cover it up with the released sword Qi. At the same time, Qi Yuanzong couldn't help but advise loudly, "Zheng Shangxi, there may be some misunderstanding here. Why not put down your weapons and let's discuss this peacefully, with the Qi family offering resources for cultivation. It would be better if we can establish a good relationship and help each other." In fact, at this moment, in the eyes of the Qi family's main figures, Zheng Yi was as good as dead. Saying this was only to make Zheng Yi relax his guard, so that they could deliver a fatal blow without causing any waves. Although the assimilating soul sect was an upper sect, it was still a demonic sect after all. It wouldn't be impossible to make a Qi refining 4th level inner disciple disappear by paying a certain price. "Sir, run away quickly. The Qi family's 3 brothers are ruthless individuals who leave no trace of their victims. Did you see those miners? They were all looted from elsewhere by them. Under their command, the miners are replaced almost every half year, and those who die are all refined by them." The fat man didn't expect that the Kijia brothers would also target him. Once the flying sword hit his body, he would definitely die on the spot. It seemed that he didn't care and blurted out, "Sir, if you have a chance, escape first. With the power of our sect, we can definitely kill them later." The fat man tried to dissuade Zheng Yi, hoping that he could seek revenge. "Fat man, I didn't expect you to have a kind heart." While speaking, Zheng Yi waved the soul-capturing banner, and a surge of evil energy rose into the sky, directly forming a huge dark cloud that covered the entire valley. Within the surging evil energy, grim ghost shadows appeared and collided with the flying swords that were shooting towards them, directly repelling the attack of the flying swords. "Zheng Yi, I originally wanted to spare your life, but you don't know when to retreat. So today, you will die." A cold light flashed in Qi Yuanzong's eyes as he coldly looked at Zheng Yi and said word by word. Zheng Yi's figure was shrouded in a huge black mist, and there seemed to be endless fierce ghosts lurking around him. After hearing this, the physical form of the soul-capturing banner appeared in his palm, floating in midair, and he said, "In this matter, the winner is the king, and the loser is the bandit. Whether you live or die is not up to you. It depends on whether the law weapon in your hand is effective or not. Zheng Yi pointed his finger, and the surface of the soul-capturing banner trembled rapidly. Countless black lines spread along the ground like a spider web, forming a huge formation. After refining the Earth's soul silver, the power of this law weapon had been enhanced. It could be said to be both offensive and defensive, becoming even more unpredictable. A figure in red appeared in the black mist. It was the main soul of the soul-capturing banner, the red-clothed ghost. Behind her, countless Yin soldiers seemed to have walked out of an ancient passage, exuding a sense of desolation and the aura of the undead. The terrifying momentum filled the sky and earth, making Zheng Yi, who was in the center of the battlefield, appear like a demon controlling the king. At this moment, Zheng Yi, who was controlling his law weapon, the soul-capturing banner, was fully displaying his abilities against 3 mid-stage chi refining cultivators. After all, he had already left the constraints of the sect. In this remote corner, there were no high-level cultivators, so Zheng Yi could play freely and unleash his advantages. In the next 2 to 3 years, he would dominate the entire mining area of Badong town. Therefore, Zheng Yi didn't hesitate to show his strongest power to intimidate everyone and make them bow down. It's better to strike first than to be struck. The time behind this would be used for cultivation, and he couldn't be bothered with these people who were calculating in secret. To control everything with absolute strength was what a person in the demonic path should do. Those who submit will be slaves, and those who resist will be killed. After all, in the realm of the demonic path, most of these people had blood on their hands and were not good people. This included Zheng Yi himself. It was nothing more than the weak being preyed upon by the strong. And as the soul-capturing banner, his law weapon, was fully activated by Zheng Yi, the soul-capturing formation covered the area. The Kijia family members' faces turned ugly as they realized that they had no way to retreat. Just as Zheng Yi had said, the only plan now was to fight. The winner is the king, the loser dies. Before the Qi family's patriarch, Qi Yuanzong, and the others could react, Zheng Yi took the initiative and formed hand seals. The soul-capturing banner released a dense black mist, transforming into a massive octopus-like creature with numerous thick tentacles that fiercely struck towards the direction of the Qi family. The Qi family's 3 brothers were indeed powerful, as the cultivators of a family with a lineage, unlike independent cultivators. Although they faced Zheng Yi's fierce attack, they were not without countermeasures. They quickly formed hand seals and commanded their flying swords to strike at the tentacles. Immediately, a loud rumbling sound filled the air, accompanied by a chilling ghostly aura, gusts of yin wind, and the piercing sound of swords, as well as a metallic clang. Not good. Feeling the astonishing power of the transformed tentacles, the Qi family's patriarch, Qi Yuanzong, had an unpleasant expression and reminded them. This kid came prepared. The soul-capturing banner in his hand is extraordinary, not an ordinary auxiliary law weapon. At the same time, he shouted, his hands changed seals, and he chanted an incantation. The flying sword that was swiftly moving stopped in front of him. As Qi Yuanzong chanted, arcs of electricity flickered on the sharp-edged flying sword. Seeing this scene, Zheng Yi's expression revealed a sense of wariness. He didn't expect that Qi Yuanzong, clearly a demonic cultivator, had also cultivated spells similar to the 5 Thunder arts. Whether it was Yin 5 Thunder or Yang 5 Thunder, they were both highly damaging to ghostly Dao spells like the soul-capturing banner. However, looking at the countless flickering arcs of electricity on Qi Yuanzong's flying sword, amidst the azure brilliance, there were also faint traces of eerie bloodlines. It was clear that it was not pure thunder arts. But even though these thunder arts were unorthodox, they posed a great threat to Zheng Yi's soul-capturing banner. However, he remained calm. He had long anticipated this situation. That's why he didn't hesitate to spend half of his essence blood to carve the 9 major soul-capturing glyphs onto the rare Zhepo Yin he had fortuitously bought in the sect's market. He then refined it along with numerous materials into the soul-capturing banner, all to guard against the current situation. Zhepo Yin was an object born from the convergence of yin and yang, an extremely yin substance that could withstand thunder strikes without being damaged. It was created by the endless resentment and ghostly aura, a coexistence of yin and yang with remarkable resistance. As long as the yin energy was sufficient, it could withstand even the most extreme yang thunder. After all, the so-called 5 elements mutually generate and restrain each other. There is no absolute dominance of one thing over another in the world, everything is derived from and restrains each other. Water can extinguish flames, but it can also be burned to ashes by raging fire. Go! Qi Yuanzong's eyes turned cold as he controlled the flying sword and slashed towards Zheng Yi. Sword qi filled the air along the way, interweaving with thunderous power. The dense yin energy was unable to stop it and was torn apart, creating a path forward. Seeing this scene, Qi Yuansheng and Qi Yuanming, after all, were brothers who had been together in the family for decades, and their thoughts were connected. They both reached out their palms and came behind Qi Yuanzong, pressing their palms against his back. Their spiritual energy was of the same origin, continuously pouring into Qi Yuanzong's body. They wanted to rely on the combined strength of the three of them to directly kill Zheng Yi on the spot. With the power of the two brothers, Qi Yuanzong's eyes emitted a deep and profound light. The speed of the flying sword he controlled increased by 3 points, and the endless thunder almost split apart the dark yin energy. However, as they watched the flying sword and thunder about to strike in front of them, Zheng Yi remained expressionless. He reached out and grasped the handle of the soul-capturing banner, gently waving it. Numerous ghostly soldiers and fierce ghosts appeared in front of him. With his wave, these fierce ghosts emitted ghostly howls, their ethereal bodies twisted by an invisible force, forming a huge black funnel behind Zheng Yi. The black funnel spun, shooting out an arrow that burned with pitch-black flames. That is the ghost fire of the netherworld, formed by the burning of highly compressed ghost energy, creating a special ghost flame. But no one has seen it. Within the core of the ghost fire of the netherworld, there flickers a hint of blue-green light. The third level of the Black Sha technique, the Azure Profound Sha, the Devil Flame. This elevates the overall quality of the ghost fire of the netherworld to another level. The Devil Flame confronts the thunder. Who will win and who will lose, is still uncertain. In this sudden moment, so fast that it is terrifying, before anyone's thoughts can react. The arrow burning with the netherworld devil flame collides with the thunder-flying sword, which has gathered the power of the three disciples of the Qi Yuan sect. This is no longer an ordinary mid-level Qi refining confrontation. The three disciples of the Qi Yuan sect are of the same root, cultivating the same root and origin of techniques, complementing each other, naturally invincible. But Zheng Yi is not to be underestimated. Although he does not have siblings, the space within the soul-capturing banner is self-contained, and the numerous yin soldiers and fierce ghosts he has refined are his assistants. Boom! Terrifying power erupts. The arrow on the bowstring collapses inch by inch, and it seems that the thunder-flying sword has gained the upper hand. However, the black flame with a hint of green evil aura, like maggots on bones, climbs onto the flying sword, directly causing the sword to emit a mournful cry, completely locking down its offensive momentum. And as the thunder-flying sword is refined with blood and connected with consciousness, Qi Yuanzong's face suddenly turns pale, and he groans in his mouth. A trace of blood flows from the corner of his mouth. Both sides can be said to have used all their means, it has already reached the point of no retreat. Seeing Qi Yuanzong at a disadvantage, Qi Yuanming and Qi Yuansheng simultaneously shout, manipulating the flying sword to kill Zheng Yi. And Qi Yuanzong also exerts all his efforts to calm the surging blood and control the flickering thunder and lightning arcs on the flying sword, inch by inch extinguishing the devil flame attached to the surface of the sword. The three of them join forces, the flying swords intertwine and crisscross, forming a huge sword formation, falling from the sky, dividing into the three powers formation, suppressing Zheng Yi's figure in the center. Endless sword qi sprays out, like a metal storm, waves of sword blades, crazily slashing towards Zheng Yi. Indeed, independent cultivators and immortal cultivation clans have three different levels of true inheritance. Every old immortal cultivation clan, even if it is declining, still has a hidden trump card. Comparing the combat power and cunning and changeable methods of the three members of the Qi family, Zheng Yi recalls the independent cultivators he encountered before, and the two sides are simply not on the same level. Even if they are in the same realm, unless they are experienced old rogue cultivators, they are afraid they will be easily killed by the three members of the Qi Yuan sect. However, they may be strong, but Zheng Yi, as an inner disciple of the sect, is not to be underestimated either. In his hand, he has already refined 49 yin soldiers and fierce ghosts, and melted the earth soul silver, producing the soul-capturing banner, his own law weapon with the power of yin and yang. This allows him to use almost cheating means to exert power far beyond his own realm. Although the soul-capturing banner is difficult to advance and has many restrictions, and is prone to being entangled by resentment, it cannot be denied that once it reaches a certain level, its power is almost abnormal. The performance of the withered soul ancestor in the battle between righteousness and evil 200 years ago has already confirmed this. And Zheng Yi is also confident that in battles of the same level, the soul-capturing banner in his hand is definitely not weaker than the withered soul ancestor. Therefore, in the face of the attacks from Qi Yuanzong and others, Zheng Yi remained fearless and instantly counterattacked. The soul-capturing banner in his hand emitted a cold light, and behind him, a huge black funnel formed by numerous yin soldiers and fierce ghosts suddenly expanded, like a giant turtle shell, directly enveloping Zheng Yi inside. At this moment, the terrifying attacks of the three-talent sword formation by Qi Yuanzong and the others had also arrived in front of him. A loud collision sound rang out. Sharp sword cries whistled. Amidst the wailing of ghosts and gods, the ear-piercing sound waves of the soul-capturing demon's sound spread out in all directions. Then, 3 huge ghost claws, each with a diameter of 4 to 5 meters, emerged from the massive black light barrier. Those ghost claws were pitch black and had sharp bone spurs on them, with nails like hooks, fiercely grabbing at the 3 flying swords. One could hear the ear-piercing sound of distortion and lamentation as the 3 flying swords were caught, their sword bodies twisted by the terrifying force, as if they would be broken in the next instant. The entire 3-talent sword formation was completely broken, and the surging black mist, accompanied by gusts of yin wind, enveloped Zheng Yi's figure, gradually revealing his silhouette. Not good. Ghostly claws. This is the soul-capturing banner at the apex level of the Qi refining stage. How is this possible? Just a mere 4th-level Qi refining junior. Qi Yuanzong's expression changed drastically, as if he had seen something unimaginable. He immediately used his hand seals, intending to retrieve the flying swords. But Zheng Yi was waiting for their move. How could he easily let them retrieve the flying swords? Continuing to wield the soul-capturing banner, numerous yin soldiers and fierce ghosts continuously poured out from it, instantly trapping the flying swords. The sharp claws kept tearing at the sword blades, and as the death energy continuously poured into the blades, cracks began to appear on their smooth and sharp surfaces. No! In Qi Yuanzong's desperate roar, the smooth and sharp flying swords shattered directly, and the connection between their spiritual consciousness and the swords was torn apart. He couldn't help but spew out a mouthful of blood. The other members of the Qi family behind him were also in a bad state, their flying swords shattered one after another, and their aura became weak. The 3 brothers of the Qi family have acted rebelliously and openly violated the sect's rules. Today, as the inner sect garrison commander, representing the sect, I will take them into custody by force. It's just that the Qi family has gone mad and intends to harm the envoy. Not only did they not surrender, but they also intensified their efforts to destroy the evidence and die together. I, Zheng Yi, had no choice but to use ruthless methods to end each other's lives. Zheng Yi shouted, continuing to wield the soul-capturing banner. As the main soul of the soul-capturing banner, the red-clothed female ghost and the yin soldiers appeared, the death energy in the sky trembled even more, and a terrifying momentum directly suppressed everyone's hearts. The weak miners were shaken by this terrifying pressure and directly fainted. Ambitious and ruthless, my Qi family has been operating in the Baodong town mine for 100 years, guarding this place for the sect. We have merits even if we have no contributions. You actually want to exterminate us all. Watching Zheng Yi's actions, Qi Yuanzong couldn't help but be stunned, a sense of unease surged in his heart, and he suddenly shouted. The voice was loud, but there was a sense of fear and unease in the tone. In Qi Yuanzong's eyes, as the head of the Qijia family, he did not regard Zheng Yi, who was only at the 4th level of Qi refining, as important. The other party was acting arrogantly here, but it was just a failure to see the situation clearly, trying to take advantage of their identity as disciples of the sect. Dealing with such an impulsive person, Qi Yuanzong originally thought it would be easy, and he could even directly punish him and make some arrangements to ensure the safety of the Qijia family. After all, in the Duya immortal domain, it was common knowledge that those with higher cultivation levels suppressed those with lower cultivation levels. Moreover, Qi Yuanzong was at the peak of the mid-stage of Qi refining, at the 6th level of Qi refining, and he had several helpers at the 4th and 5th levels. It shouldn't be too difficult to suppress Zheng Yi. But he didn't expect that this newly promoted inner disciple, whose cultivation level was not high, would possess an apex-level chi refining law weapon called the soul-capturing banner, with hidden ghosts that had already reached the level of yin soldiers, and even a main soul that had reached the 7th level of chi refining. Not to mention dealing with him alone, even if the entire Kijia family joined forces, they could easily suppress him. He couldn't help but regret why he hadn't been more careful when they first met. In order to establish dominance, he had shown such a domineering attitude, giving the other party a chance to strike. And now he realized that this inner disciple who had arrived was actually aiming for their lives, completely intending to kill them. Hiding the true situation of the vein, setting up the 9 yin gathering evil vein formation, it seems that your Kijia family had already turned against us several decades ago, even before joining the assimilating soul sect. You insects who disregard the sect's rules, engage in favoritism, and harm the sect's interests, dare to plead innocence and think of yourselves as loyal subjects of the sect. What a big joke. Zheng came here with the sect's token to eliminate the evil spirits and bring prosperity to the sect. As for your Kijia family, who colluded with each other and harbored ulterior motives, you have already committed a crime deserving of death. Even if I eradicate you today, it will be a well-known act. Kijia head, it's useless to say more at this point. It's better to surrender and save yourself from being completely destroyed by my soul-capturing banner. For the sake of the sect's interests, killing off a subsidiary family like the Kijia was not a big deal for Zheng Yi. Especially since the Kijia had presented themselves as targets, the 9 yin gathering evil vein formation was a wicked formation that violated the laws of heaven, directly damaging the feng shui of the area and cutting off the spiritual veins. The practitioner would inevitably suffer backlash. Within the sect, this was considered a path to death. No one could save the Kijia. He had learned from the Internal Affairs Hall that as a disciple in charge of a certain area, he represented the face of the sect. If the harm caused by the subsidiary family was truly discovered, he had the authority to make a decisive judgment as long as he could give an account to the sect afterwards. He only needed one 9 yin gathering evil vein formation to completely destroy the Kijia. Moreover, in recent years, the Kijia had been involved in many dirty dealings. By pulling out the radish, the mud would come out. Once the Kijia fell, there would be no trouble finding evidence of their crimes. And many people might even rush to provide ironclad evidence of the Kijia's crimes. Although this would offend the Kijia's backers within the assimilating soul sect and many other interested parties, in Zheng Yi's eyes, a small family like the Kijia was already in decline. There wasn't even a chi-refining late-stage cultivator in the clan. Even if they had some backing within the sect, they were probably not important figures. With what Zheng Yi had done today, he was determined to eliminate the Kijia, which was a harmful group. As a cultivator of the demon sect, he was ruthless and cunning. In order to cultivate demonic techniques, he could do anything. Even if he killed 100 people, there wouldn't be a single innocent one among them. The Qi family has been hovering in this area for hundreds of years, and they have set up a powerful formation called the 9 yin gathering evil formation under the black iron ore veins underground. Countless people have been sacrificed, and their flesh and souls have been devoured. After stepping into this place, the soul-collecting banner, which is Zheng Yi's law weapon, started to sound the alarm. Moreover, his cultivation of the black evil art has reached its peak, and he is extremely sensitive to all kinds of resentful spirits and evil energy. He can feel that deep within the earth's veins, a huge formation is like a flood dragon, with countless tormented souls wailing. It can be said that the grievances are overwhelming, and the karmic forces are as thick as blood. So Zheng Yi has no psychological discomfort in eradicating such a family. He even feels like he is doing justice. Although from the beginning, his heart was not pure. As for the stakeholders of the Qi family's business interests, as long as Zheng Yi can establish a foothold here, a few years will be enough to change many things. By then, Zheng Yi doesn't know how far he can go, but he will definitely grow rapidly, and many people and things will no longer matter. Moreover, the Qi family has come to him on their own, with solid evidence, and it is detrimental to him as an inner disciple. It is indeed a very good excuse. Just suppressing these few guys is not enough to achieve Zheng Yi's goals. The patriarch of the Qi family has been here for decades and has already influenced all aspects of life. If he is not eliminated now, it will be a disaster in the future. Zheng Yi will not give these guys any so-called opportunities. If you don't eliminate the roots, the spring breeze will bring them back to life. Waving the soul-collecting banner, under the surging evil energy, the numerous fierce ghosts led by the red-clothed female ghost directly envelop the Qi family members. Spare us, Master, spare us, please. I will cooperate with you and manage this mine well. We are willing to offer all the wealth of the Qi family, please. Under the shroud of black mist, several desperate voices cried out, but Zheng Yi remained indifferent, just watching quietly. After a while, the black mist dissipated, and the numerous soul-collecting banners and fierce ghosts gathered together, being reabsorbed by Zheng Yi into the soul-collecting banner. Zheng Yi once again felt the chilling ghost energy surging like waves. If this law weapon is not upgraded and refined, it may no longer be able to suppress the fierce ghosts within. Unstable, too unstable. It seems that I need to prioritize upgrading the soul-collecting banner. In this situation, if the fierce ghosts inside are upgraded 1 or 2 more times, they will break through the seal of the soul-collecting banner. After devouring the souls of several mid-level Qi refining cultivators in a row, the power contained within them gave the main soul, the blood-clothed female ghost in the soul-collecting banner, a premonition of transformation. If this continues, it is feared that after experiencing 1 or 2 more battles like this, the blood-clothed female ghost will transform again, and then even the lowest-level soul-collecting banner will not be able to restrain her actions. At that time, the first person she will look for after escaping the confinement of the soul-collecting banner will be its owner. As the evil energy dissipated and the dark clouds dispersed, the valley returned to calm. But the huge valley mine, at this moment, was so silent that it suffocated people, and everyone's breathing was suppressed. With fearful eyes, they looked at the young figure holding the soul-collecting banner, their faces full of terror. No one expected that this seemingly young disciple of the sect would be so decisive, directly sending away all the Qi family members in power. Their souls were even devoured directly, and they couldn't be more dead. And under Zheng Yi's feet, he felt a lump of flesh wriggling. He looked down and found that Qi Lin was trembling like a pendulum. It's done. Stand up. Zheng Yi pulled Qi Lin up and said calmly, as if he had done something insignificant. Qi Lin trembled, looking at the wreckage of the place just now, his tongue trembling and unable to speak a complete sentence. Instead, he heard Zheng Yi's voice in his ears. They're all dead. By calculation, you are also a branch of the Qi family and have the right to inherit the Qi family's industry. Next, do you have any desire to become the head of the Qi family? With just one sentence, Qi Lin, who was trembling, stood still, raising his head in disbelief, as if he thought he had misheard. Next, do you have any desire to become the head of the Qi family? Although it was just a casual question from Zheng Yi, it seemed to echo in Qi Lin's ears like a magic sound. For a moment, he stood there dumbfounded, his whole person in a daze, as if he was in a dream, unable to distinguish which side was the real reality. Power and wealth have always been necessary conditions for a man's backbone. As a branch of the Qi family, Qi Lin was not highly regarded. Even this so-called mine supervisor was the result of spending most of his fortune and working hard to climb up. In any cultivation family, resources for cultivation are limited. In comparison, the main line naturally occupies the vast majority, while the branches can only have a small share. Qi Lin's future was basically set. He couldn't break through in his cultivation, so he would work honestly until he died, contributing to the growth of the main family in his lifetime. After all, as a branch, he was destined to obey orders, with no spiritual veins and no resources for cultivation. As a mine supervisor, he was actually doing quite well among the branches of the family, but in reality, he was just a watchdog. If something went wrong with the mine, he would be the first one to lose his head. Qi Lin was well aware of this, so when he accidentally let slip those words, he knew he was doomed. Even though those words were induced by Zheng Yi, to the people of the main family, he was a traitor. Regardless of the outcome, even if the Qi family managed to weather this incident smoothly, he, as the main culprit, would undoubtedly be dealt with and might die a gruesome death. After all, Qi Lin, who was nearly 40 years old, was only at the 3rd level of Qi refining. When someone like him, on the fringes of the family, disappeared, no one would care. But as someone who could become a mine supervisor as a branch, Qilin naturally knew how to maneuver and was skilled at handling accidents. This was also one of the reasons why Qilin reminded Zhengyi to escape quickly. He knew he was doomed, so he made up his mind and took a big gamble. Everyone shared the same surname and the same ancestor. Why should he sacrifice himself for the mine while the noble members of the main family could distance themselves and pass through safely? So if they were to die, they should die together. Perhaps there was still a chance to survive. And offending the assimilating soul sect would definitely bring disaster to the Qi family. Therefore, without hesitation, Qilin sold out the entire main line of the Qi family. As long as Zhengyi could escape from here and return to the sect for reinforcements. Even if he died, Qi Yuanzong and the other important members of the Qi family would have to accompany him in death. However, the turn of events came too suddenly. Who would have thought that in just a moment, Zhengyi, the newly arrived inner disciple of the assimilating soul sect, would complete a major turnaround, overturning the Qi family's main lineage, including Qi Yuanzong, with just a soul-capturing banner. It can be said that the upper echelons of the Qi family have been completely wiped out this time. The Qi family, a Qi refining family that has been the nominal ruler of the Badong town mining area for hundreds of years, is finished. The sudden turn of events developed too quickly, and Qilin's legs are still trembling, his throat is dry, and his fat face is covered in sweat. But what surprises him even more is what he is hearing now. This senior disciple is actually asking him if he is willing to become the head of the Qi family. What kind of words are these? Could it be that he has been scared silly and is hearing things? It's unlikely. After all, he is a cultivator at the 3rd level of Qi refining. He still has the basic composure. I am willing. Qilin, a smooth-talking person, seizes an opportunity and is willing to climb up at all costs. Now, hearing Zhengyi's words, it is as if he has heard divine words, and he shivers as if he has been enlightened. Then he bends his legs and kneels down without hesitation, prostrating himself in front of Zhengyi, and loudly responds, "From now on, Qilin's life belongs to you, sir." If the sir tells Qilin to go east, Qilin will never go west. If the sir tells Qilin to go to the heavens, Qilin will never dare to go to the sea. The entire Qi family, from now on, will obey the sir's commands without any second thoughts. Qilin's excited fat face trembles, his eyes turn red, and he desperately expresses his loyalty. He is willing to follow Zhengyi's every step, to do whatever he is told. In fact, in Zhengyi's mind, it's not that complicated. He still needs to stay in the Badong town mining area for another 2 or 3 years, or even longer. In a sense, this place is his stronghold. If there is a local tyrant like the Qi family who secretly opposes him, it would not be a good thing for him. Since Qi Yuanzong and the others are not easily tamed, and there is also a way to take their own lives, it is better to just end things and fulfill the other party. After all, the Qi family, a small Qi refining family, will not suffer any major losses if they are eliminated. Since they don't listen, just replace the person in charge. As for who becomes the head of the Qi family, it doesn't matter to him. It doesn't have much significance. What he needs is an obedient dog, not a rebellious wolf. The significance of the Qi family in Badong town is simply to obey his commands and manage the sect's veins for him. The rest are just minor issues. The demon sect is all about being unscrupulous. If they don't follow orders, just replace them. It's such a simple matter. He holds the evidence of the Qi family's suicide, and even if what he does is reported back to the sect, no one can criticize him. As for exposing a bit of his strength, after all, the heavens are high and the emperor is far away. There are no disciples from the sect who have witnessed it with their own eyes. It's easy to deceive and cover up such things. Does he really think the gift he gave to the Internal Affairs Hall was for nothing? And there will be a continuous stream of gifts in the future. Unlike ordinary inner disciples, he has the support of the end of the world, so he doesn't lack cultivation resources and doesn't care about the exchange of spirit stones. He relied on spirit stones all the way, completing the reversal from an independent cultivator to an inner disciple of the demon sect. Wasn't it the charm of money? Money can make the devil turn the grindstone. This matter is not as simple as it seems. Even cultivators have common human weaknesses. In his previous life, Zhengyi was a relatively successful businessman. How could he not understand human weaknesses? The only miscalculation made by Qi Yuanzong was Zheng Yi's strength. But it's not entirely his fault. Who could have expected that a disciple from the inner sect of the assimilating soul sect would turn out to be such an anomaly like Zheng Yi? Although his cultivation level is not high, as a newly promoted inner sect disciple at the 4th level of Qi refining, he possesses the soul capturing banner, which is considered the apex level even in the Qi refining stage. He has even refined it into his own law weapon, containing 49 fierce yin soldiers. With their help, he easily defeated all of them, causing a great upheaval. The Qi family also did not expect that Zheng Yi would turn against them without any discussion, catching them off guard and wiping out the high-level members of the main lineage. A careless move leads to total defeat. Seeing Qi Lin's fawning attitude, Zheng Yi nodded without expressing agreement or disagreement. If he is going to be a servant, he must have the awareness and attitude of a servant. The immortal cultivation world in the immortal domain is very cruel, and there are many cases of slaves bullying their masters. Zheng Yi would not engage in any behavior of showing respect to those beneath him. People like Qi Lin can climb up the ladder easily. Once you fail to demonstrate enough suppression and authority, the other party may look down on you in their heart. Qi Lin is smooth and decisive in his actions. Once he takes power, he will definitely carry out a thorough cleansing of the Qi family. The matter of uprooting the remnants of the main lineage of the Qi family is not only known by Zheng Yi, but also understood by others. By using Qi Lin to control the entire Qi family, he can rely on his own strength. Otherwise, there may even be a threat to his life. And Qi Lin should have no problem eliminating the troubles before the Qi family, at least he won't continue to disturb his cultivation. This is his true purpose. The reason why he chose this task and came here is to escape from conflicts and struggles. With the support of an entire apocalyptic world, the cultivation resources he possesses are even better than those of the geniuses from the major sects. Although the level of the apocalyptic world cannot be compared to the immortal domain, within the entire world, there are countless strange ghosts and creatures that are enough to support him in reaching a high level. Now it seems that Qi Lin is indeed the best candidate for Zheng Yi to control the entire Qi family. With resentment towards the main lineage of the Qi family, he holds power while Zheng Yi is stationed here, making the Qi family his pawn and lackey. Moreover, Qi Lin is smooth and capable in handling matters. Otherwise, he would not have been appointed to manage this mine. This is great because he can handle things that Zheng Yi doesn't want to deal with. Thank you, sir. Seeing Zheng Yi nod in agreement, Qi Lin repeatedly bowed in gratitude. Then, he raised his head, his small eyes flickering with a smooth gaze. His slightly curved body straightened up, and he tried hard to adapt to his new identity as the head of the Qi family. All right, take me to the mine. I want to see what the Qi family is hiding in this black iron ore vein. The 9 yin gathering evil formation, quite a grand scheme. Zheng Yi doesn't care about Qi Lin's changes, he only cares about whether the other party can handle things for him. If he can't, or if he doesn't handle things well, he doesn't mind replacing him with someone else. Sir, this way please. Qi Lin quickly restrained his emotions, restoring his smooth expression, and making an effort to maintain a humble smile on his face. But deep in his eyes, there is still awe for this disciple of the upper sect. As they entered the mine, it immediately became dark inside. The air was filled with the smell of minerals, making it extremely murky. The tiny particles entered their bodies with each breath, causing discomfort over time. Following Qi Lin's lead, they carefully walked forward along the narrow mine tunnel, which was only about 2 meters wide. They didn't know how deep or far they had walked, but the space ahead began to expand, and eventually, they arrived at a sizable mining pit. The walls around them bore traces of excavation, with various tool marks on the hard surface of the minerals. The surroundings were empty, clearly abandoned, and all the minerals had been cleared out. Zheng Yi reached out and touched the black metallic luster on the wall, then broke off a small piece of raw black iron ore. It was a small piece of unrefined black iron ore, yet one could still feel its hardness. Further ahead were dark tunnels extending into the depths. These were the passages that the miners had dug to search for black iron ore. Arriving here, Zheng Yi decided not to continue further. Sir, the rightmost tunnel is a restricted area designated by the Qi family. Even I don't know what's inside. Despite being a member of the main lineage with a long-term connection, Qi Lin suddenly said. He looked up, his tone hesitant. Staring at the pitch-black tunnel that resembled the throat of a giant beast, it emitted an intangible, eerie, and terrifying aura, making people shudder. Tell me more. Zheng Yi stopped in his tracks, showing some interest. Sir, this tunnel belongs to the Qi family's main lineage and is strictly forbidden. Anyone who enters this mining tunnel, whether intentionally or unintentionally, will be executed on the spot. Qi Lin explained in detail. Even someone like me, a member of the Qi family's collateral branch, would face the same fate. I've heard that this tunnel is a place where people disappear without a trace. Every month, the number of miners decreases by 30%. Apart from a few who die from exhaustion, the rest who go missing are said to have been sent into this tunnel and never seen again. As time went on, even without the Qi family's intervention, no one dared to come to this place. The mention of the so-called Devil's Alley piqued Zheng Yi's interest. Mumbling and setting up a smokescreen. It seems this is the place. Zheng Yi sneered. Clearly, the Qi family's main lineage was trying to cover up something, which was why they had implemented such strict and illogical measures to prevent anyone from discovering their secret. But something that was heavily guarded must have a hidden agenda. Before Qi Lin could finish speaking, Zheng Yi summoned the soul-capturing banner. The dark mist enveloped his entire body, maximizing his defense. Several Yin soldiers were dispatched to lead the way. After confirming multiple times, Zheng Yi couldn't wait any longer and walked in. Qi Lin had intended to follow, but Zheng Yi left him outside. Perhaps Qi Lin wanted to impress his new master, but seeing his legs trembling uncontrollably, Zheng Yi decided not to bring him along. In case they encountered any danger, Zheng Yi didn't have the time to worry about Qi Lin. It was better for him to explore freely on his own for this expedition. Moreover, Zheng Yi is very interested in the hidden secrets of the Qi family's main lineage. Being treated with such caution and meticulousness by a Qi refining cultivation family that has been arranged for several generations, it must be extraordinary. In case it involves any secrets of cultivation, and if Qi Lin were to see it, Zheng Yi does not want to kill to keep it a secret. After all, the 9 Yin gathering evil pulse great array is not a simple formation. As Zheng Yi walked into the right tunnel of the mine, he continued forward. The path was pitch black and silent, eerily quiet. The passage here has undergone long-term transformation and repair, and the ceiling has been artificially smoothed. However, this place has been sealed off as a forbidden area, indicating that no one has entered for a long time. At first, Zheng Yi didn't know if it was an illusion, but as he walked further, he felt a chill rising from his feet. That kind of coldness seemed to come from the soles of his feet, passing through the hard rock floor and directly into his heart. There was a ventilation opening somewhere in the tunnel, and gusts of cold wind swept through. The icy breath blew across his face, feeling like a sharp blade scraping against his face, causing his hair to stand on end. As he went deeper, the chill no longer only rose from his feet, but came from all directions, making it impossible to defend against. So much yin energy. It's even more sinister than the ghost schools and ghost underground parking lots in the end of days world. The Qi family must have a big secret. A hint of interest and excitement appeared on Zheng Yi's face as he continued forward. The chill became even stronger, almost freezing his entire body, and the air turned into coldness, constantly emanating from the front and pouring into the passage. No way forward. As he walked, he turned a corner and found himself in a dead end, with a wall of rock blocking the way ahead. It seemed that everything had come to an end here. In the tunnel, there was only heavy and murky air, a deathly silence, and the constantly surging coldness. Of course, Zheng Yi didn't really believe in this crude disguise. It might have some confusing effect on ordinary mortals or low-level independent cultivators, but it was not enough to deceive someone who came with a purpose. Bang! A glimmer of cold light flashed, and a flying sword appeared in Zheng Yi's hand. The void trembled, and the cold light surged as the sword struck the wall. The thick wall was directly cut open, creating a large gap, and Zheng Yi stepped inside. Zheng Yi almost cursed out loud. The Qi family really has some guts. As he walked into the hidden space inside and saw everything clearly, even Zheng Yi couldn't help but take a deep breath. What he saw was nothing but skeletons. With Zheng Yi's sword strike, behind the seemingly natural rock wall, there was actually a hidden secret chamber, which was the Qi family's long-awaited secret. And what shocked Zheng Yi was that within the cracks of the spacious secret chamber, there was a huge skeletal altar. Countless skeletons were piled layer upon layer, with no flesh or blood left on them. They were completely clean, as if they had been absorbed and devoured by some strange entity. The remaining cold and twisted bones clearly showed that they had suffered immense pain before death. Each skull, with its dark eye sockets, faced the direction of the altar, emitting endless strangeness and coldness. There was a cracking sound under his shoes, as he accidentally stepped on and broke a few dry bones. There were too many bones in this place, and it was unknown how many people had died here. Their flesh and blood had mysteriously disappeared, leaving only scattered dry bones. There was no place to step on, and the invisible cold and sinister aura, even after so long, still gathered here, forming a deathly atmosphere. Fortunately, Zheng Yi was a cultivator with a strong physique and spiritual power protecting him. Otherwise, if an ordinary person came here, they would have long been possessed by the deathly aura, no different from being poisoned. Zheng Yi continued forward, passing through piles of bones, and finally arrived at the altar. Then, he widened his eyes and saw the most cruel and brutal scene he had ever witnessed. In the center of the enormous skeletal altar, 15 thick bronze chains locked a massive bronze coffin. The chains were adorned with peculiar runic formations, firmly connected to the entire altar, forming a strange formation. A continuous flow of spiritual energy was being extracted and all gathered inside the bronze coffin. The 9 yin gathering death formation. Inside the massive bronze coffin was a liquid resembling amber, emitting a strong essence of flesh and blood. Upon smelling it, one's mind would become intoxicated. Zheng Yi looked around and saw the pile of bones that resembled a small mountain. He finally understood where the flesh and blood from these people had gone. The blood-flesh demon pool, even in the demonic path, was a formation with tremendous backlash of karmic energy. Unless one was an extremely powerful old demon or a madman who didn't care about falling into the animal realm forever, they wouldn't dare to act so recklessly. Moreover, constructing such a blood-flesh demon pool required not only the efforts of one ordinary cultivator but also the support of an immortal cultivation family or power, often taking the efforts of 1 or 2 generations. Countless resources were consumed in the process. Inside the massive bronze coffin, within the endless essence of flesh and blood, lay a pregnant woman with a bulging belly, carrying a 10-month pregnancy. She was completely naked, without a single thread of clothing. One could vaguely see her beautiful and delicate face, which appeared to be that of an 18 or 19-year-old girl. However, at this moment, she had long lost her vitality. Yet, under the nourishment of the essence of flesh and blood, her body still appeared lifelike. The elasticity of her skin seemed no different from that of a living person. However, her eyes, which had lost their luster, seemed to be expressing helpless pain. Perhaps, before her death, this young girl had never imagined that she would endure such terrible suffering one day. If she had known how cruel the world could be, she might not have been willing to be born into this world and would not have accepted such horrifying torment. However, in the eyes of the Qi family for generations, this young girl was merely a consumable resource. Zheng Yi stood on the skeletal altar, the demonic aura of the soul-capturing banner protecting his body. He carefully avoided several key points where spiritual energy circulated and slowly walked to the front of the bronze coffin. From there, he looked down and could clearly see the most bizarre aspect of the pregnant girl. Her belly could no longer be described as a 10-month pregnancy, it was unusually large, almost twice the size of an ordinary pregnant woman's belly. Because it was so enormous, the girl's belly skin had been stretched thin, becoming extremely transparent. In the faint red light, one could see the reddish-brown amniotic fluid inside, containing a red blood egg that resembled a heart, beating vigorously. Curled up inside that blood-colored egg was a peculiar baby, completely blood-red, with a small tail growing behind its buttocks. The Kijia family has gone mad. Seeing this scene, even Zheng Yi couldn't help but feel a tingling sensation on his scalp. After generations of scheming and setting up this 9 yin gathering evil formation, the Kijia family actually managed to refine such a thing. A blood fetus ghost infant, this is actually the legendary blood fetus ghost infant. A tremendously evil and wicked creature, not bound by the cycle of reincarnation, not fitting into the yin and yang 5 elements, not accepted by heaven and earth, despised by the heavens. The Kijia family is truly audacious, aren't they afraid of being backlashed by karma and wiped out completely? Originally, Zheng Yi had suppressed the Kijia family, the local power, in order to completely control the mining area of Baodong town and to have a strong grip on the veins. It was only when the Nine Yin Gathering evil formation was accidentally exposed that the Kijia family revealed their murderous intent. Zheng Yi then realized that the whole matter was not as simple as it seemed. Taking advantage of the situation, he completely wiped out the Kijia family's top leadership. But now, it seems that he was too lenient with his actions. The other members of the Kijia family's main lineage are not clean either, so a thorough cleansing is necessary. Even though the Kijia family has a history of 100 years and some connections within the sect, with the bone altar in his hands, the Kijia family is destined to not survive. His gaze once again focused on the pregnant belly inside the bronze coffin. Wrapped in a red blood egg as a completely blood-red baby, with its nostrils twitching. This blood fetus ghost infant is clearly alive. On the altar filled with bones, it appeared extremely eerie. Not to mention anything else, just seeing the scene before their eyes is enough to make anyone's scalp tingle and their feet go cold. The Kijia family really put in a lot of effort, using the power of their entire clan and lurking for so long, just to cultivate a ghost infant. It wouldn't be an exaggeration to call them tyrants. However, their methods are extremely vicious, surpassing the bottom line of being human. Moreover, the entire Kijia family has clearly gone mad, aren't they afraid of being backlashed by karma? No wonder, when Zheng Yi saw the Kiwan brothers from the Kijia family, he felt that something was off about their aura. Now it seems that it was the blood curse deeply ingrained in their bones. Although their aura was concealed by secret techniques, that smell still clung to their souls and bloodline. Originally, the entire Kijia family carries original sin. It should be known that the blood fetus ghost infant is a secret technique of the Netherworld Tao. Hundreds of years ago, the demonic sect Netherworld Tao fell apart, and this strange secret technique somehow spread out, causing a great uproar. But because the method of refining the ghost infant is extremely perverse and difficult, often taking hundreds of years, and it greatly harms the heavens and earth, even the old demons would probably not be able to withstand the backlash of karma. No one is willing to risk their souls being scattered or falling into the eternal animal realm, to be a wedding dress for others. Coupled with certain reasons, all sects vigorously prohibited it, and this technique was classified as forbidden, gradually disappearing. Unexpectedly, the Qi-refining Kijia family in the small Baodong town mining area still preserved this secret transmission. The so-called blood fetus ghost infant is created by using the Netherworld Tao secret technique to build a blood and flesh magic pool, and it requires finding a pregnant woman born in an extremely yin year, preferably a 9-yin woman. The so-called 9-yin female refers to a woman born on an extremely yin year, month, day, and hour. Women born during this time possess an extremely yin nature, absorbing a mysterious and elusive yin energy from the heavens and earth. They are the coveted vessels for demonic cultivators. However, among millions of women, there is not a single 9-yin female. Without careful examination, they are indistinguishable from ordinary people, making them difficult to find. Therefore, ordinary women born during yin years, months, and hours are often used as substitutes. The final effect is vastly different, but still usable. These yin females must remain virgins and have a demonic seed planted within them by demonic cultivators. The seed gradually develops into an embryo, and during the last 7 days of the 10-month pregnancy, their souls are captured, leaving only a living corpse known as a fetal corpse. Through special refinement using the Netherworld Tao secret technique, supplemented by the resentment of heaven and earth and rooted in malevolent energy, the fetal corpse absorbs the flesh, blood, and souls of countless living beings, forming a ghostly fetus. Even during this process, the mother's body is forcibly tortured, generating the best nourishment in the form of resentment. Ultimately, a ferocious demonic ghost creature known as a blood fetal ghost infant is born. This method is prone to heavenly condemnation, consumes countless resources, and carries a great backlash of karma. Moreover, the success rate is not high. But now, it seems that the Qi family is on the verge of success. No wonder when Zheng Yi sensed the 9-yin gathering death array, it attracted such a strong reaction from the Qi family's 3 brothers, even leading them to have murderous intent towards him. It turns out the secret lies here, so it's no wonder. Zheng Yi silently lamented the cruelty of this demonic technique, while becoming even more cautious, fearing that there might be some hidden arrangements he hadn't noticed, causing unnecessary trouble. However, under the operation of the 9-yin gathering death array, it is not easy for any formations to exist, as they would counteract each other. Therefore, besides the ordinary mechanical arrangements, the Qi family surprisingly lacks other protective measures. Zheng Yi circled around and discovered that the Qi family had been preparing this blood and flesh demonic pool for a very long time. Some skeletons had already begun to decay, indicating that at least 100 years had passed. In other words, since the first generation of the Qi family's founders over 100 years ago, they had already begun planning and preparing for the 9-yin gathering death array to cultivate blood fetal ghost infants. According to the information Zheng Yi found in the Assimilating Soul Sect, the entire history of the Qi family in the Badong town mining area was only 100 years long. Truly cunning and long-sighted, they had been preparing for the cultivation of blood fetal ghost infants since the establishment of the family, with the efforts and planning of several generations. If it weren't for Zheng Yi suddenly becoming an unexpected guest, it's likely that in a few more years, it would have been the Qi family's time to reap the rewards. Unfortunately, in the end, man's plans are no match for fate. This is the result of the backlash of karma. Zheng Yi was their calamity. The mysterious workings of cause and effect dictate that every person is a small insect within the vast web of karma in the world. A small action can set off a chain reaction. For so many years, the Qi family had been arrogant. Although there were people who bore the consequences of their souls scattering, the accumulated karmic debts of many generations eventually led to their ultimate calamity. Perhaps Zheng Yi was just a small insect manipulated by the force of cause and effect under the backlash of karma. However, for a small Qi refining stage cultivation family like the Qi family, to secretly refine forbidden techniques and go unnoticed for so many years, they can only be described as cunning. No wonder when Zheng Yi searched for information in the sect, he found the Qi family to be extremely peculiar. On the Assimilating Soul Sect's database, their reputation had always been low-key, obedient to all the sect's arrangements, but extremely strict towards their subjects and even the peripheral branches of the family. Many people thought that the entire Qi family was following the path of the main lineage's elites and didn't want to cultivate the peripheral branches. But after so many years, has the Qi family produced any decent experts? Now it seems that the Qi family is deeply hidden. It's not that they don't want to expand the influence of the family, but all their resources are used to cultivate blood fetus ghost infants. It is possible that the entire Ba Dong town mining area, the residents, and the collateral descendants could all be materials for the Qi family to cultivate ghost infants. It can only be said that although the Qi family is just a small Qi refining family, the bloodiness and cruelty within the family have far exceeded many powerful demonic cultivation families. This is a family that will do anything for power. Perhaps the deviation started from the generation of the family's founding ancestor, and the coldness and ferocity of 2 or 3 generations have been passed down. Now, it is already difficult to get off the tiger's back. Even if they know the path is wrong, they have invested so much effort and countless resources over several generations that they can no longer turn back halfway. It's like a gambler who has lost too many chips before. It can be said that they have already put their lives and fortunes at stake, and they can't help but continue gambling. They only hope for one last all-in, to turn the tide. Either they rise up and become a foundation-building stage cultivation family, or the entire family loses the gamble, sinking directly and everyone dying together. Zheng Yi can only say that the cruelty and ferocity of the demonic cultivation world sometimes exceed his imagination. At this moment, Zheng Yi's brow furrowed. He noticed that the body of the blood fetus ghost infant in the corpse's belly seemed to twitch slightly. He quickly focused his attention and carefully observed. He found that the baby wrapped in the blood-red viscous liquid didn't look much different in appearance, but its whole body was not the fair color of a baby. Instead, it was enveloped in a crimson skin. At first glance, it gave off a strange and evil aura. Swish! Suddenly, in the amniotic sac, the baby in the blood-red viscous liquid opened its eyes, and a pair of green, eerie eyes fell into Zheng Yi's gaze. He didn't know when, but this ghost infant actually opened its eyes. The scene before him became hazy, and the world seemed to spin. Zheng Yi inexplicably felt dizzy and disoriented. When he opened his eyes again, he found himself in a clean room. Wah wah! Startled, Jung Yi didn't have time to carefully observe the surroundings. He was directly awakened by the urgent cry of a baby in his ears. He looked up and saw a baby lying on a crib not far away. The baby was as delicate as jade, smiling and stretching out its chubby lotus-like arms, as if it wanted to be held. In an instant, an inexplicable feeling of tenderness arose from the depths of his heart, the kind of affection that humans have for cute infants. It was as if this baby in front of him was his everything. With the chubby arms swinging and the babbling calls in his ears, Jung Yi's entire focus was on the baby in front of him. His whole body moved uncontrollably towards the baby, his face filled with happiness, smiling, and opening his arms step by step, wanting to embrace the baby in front of him. I hope everyone will support it and subscribe more.